Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Episode 173 is brought to you by our supporters. If you would like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. First things first, I want to welcome Chill Bringer, Da Best, Bryce W, and Juicy BTW. Of course, every episode is dedicated to some of our supporters, so I want to dedicate this episode to Mon Player and our top tier supporters, Aiden A, Gentinu, Grunkle G, and Spleemo. Thank you guys very much. But of course, it doesn't stop there. If coffee's more your thing, or I should say, if buying coffee is more your thing, who does that? Is that, well, whatever. Anyways, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/dills. So, of course, I want to thank Timbuktu25, Dr. Feelgood, a.k.a. Mistborn, The Six, One Big Peepee, Feminlet, Mr. Showers, Rowdy Pickle, and Hoyt. Guys, that's a lot of coffee. It's really stacking up. Can't thank you guys enough. Right away, off the get-go, kind of a long episode. We really dig into these poll questions. And fun fact, me and Heartless spent 2 days recording this. So we're putting this out there. A little fun little competition. If you can guess what poll question we stopped recording and started recording the next day, you'll win yourself a bond. First person to find it. All right? Get in touch. All right. Anyways, let's get into it. It's a fun little competition. Why not, right? Welcome to episode 173 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am your host, Dills, and joined with me today is Heartless.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it is going good. We have a whack of stuff to talk about today. We mentioned about a little bit of a content drought. Sometimes it feels like more of a dev blog drought, but not this week. We got a ton of stuff to go through. They have some new ideas. It's the equipment rebalances all over again, ×2. That's right, we got it twice this week. They have a proposed change to the range meta. Again, these are just ideas. They're not even. This isn't even the dev blog of them being like, this is what we want to do. This is just them being like, this is kind of where our head's at, which I don't know why they always do this. It seems to like set off a bunch of red flags for the community. And then half the time they're like, yeah, we're not even set on this. This is just some ideas. But I guess they're looking for feedback, so that's fair. We got some fishing trawler improvements, plus some actual equipment rebalances. This is the more safer route. Some of the, I guess, free-to-play items, like rune armor, and yeah, some of the smaller equipment rebalances, they kind of went ahead and dropped those this week. We have a poll blog with a ton of questions. Nothing too major, but there's just a ton of potential changes that may be coming our way. Oh boy.
Yep, strap in for a long one.
Heartless, I think we need to kick it off though, because we have something special. I should say you and some others have planned something special coming up. Should we talk about bingo right off the get-go?
Let's do it right off the bat. Absolutely. So the Wild CC Wilderness Podcast Bingo will be happening on May 7th and running for 1 week right until Friday, May 14th. So signups are still welcome until a couple days before. We're going to be welcoming signups. It costs $2 mil to enter, and you'll be put on a team. It's probably going to be about 4 teams, and you will be competing to try and complete as many bingo tiles as you possibly can. And if you didn't tune in last week, a bingo tile is essentially a task. So for example, get a Cerberus unique would count towards one of the tiles. And there are 25 tiles on the board. You get extra points for finishing rows and diagonals and columns. It's a nice little fun social event. It gets you to meet some people in the clan. Gets you excited for drops like Sears rings that you normally wouldn't be excited for.
Yeah.
There are some great stories that have come out of the last bingos. There's always tons of pets it's a really fun way to refresh content, especially if you're a little bit bored with the game at the moment, or if you're a new player and want to get into some group content. It's a really fun way to like meet friends and get involved with stuff. So I would absolutely sign up. We have currently over 40 people signed up.
That is insane.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun one.
Yeah, it looks cool. And I missed the first bingo. This is back when I was doing my hiatus from both the podcast and RuneScape. I kind of jumped in on the last bingo event, but again, I was just getting back into RuneScape. I'm super excited for this one, and I've seen a lot of people who are excited. And the tiles look amazing. For example, there's the Pharaoh Scepter. You know, I've been complaining about thieving and training thieving, but I saw that and I was like, oh, this now I have to train thieving, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, there are a lot of good tiles. Which one else are you most excited to sort of get into?
Ooh, honestly, I'd have to look back at them. What I liked was there was tiles that it's like not just for like high end players. You know, you have like Wintertodt, Temperos, Champion Scroll, like tiles that are relevant to that stuff, which like low levels can do as well. Because I know a few people were like, it looks fun, but you know, I'm only like level 70, and it's like, hey, go kill a bunch of goblins. Do goblins drop champion scrolls? I think they
do. Yeah. So yeah, for like lower level players, if you're listening, you're like, I'm not sure, because there's some high end gameplay in here. Absolutely. There's, you know, Raids Purple, Corp Unique, Wilderness Ring, Cerberus Hydra Unique, God Swords. Those kind of things are maybe for the higher end players who may be chasing pets and stuff like that. But there's also great content for low players. So Barrows, one of the tiles is get a helm, a top, a legs, and a weapon. So you don't need to get all of the same set, but you do need to get one in each slot. That's something you could work towards if you're a low level player. Tome of Water and Fire, like you mentioned, you can tag along for like group God Wars dungeon. There's a clues tile, which is I think my favorite tile. So you need 5 uniques from easies, 4 from mediums, 3 from hards, 2 from elites, and 1 from masters. So, I mean, any low-level player can go and bang out easies as mediums.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, and I love clue scrolls. I didn't even see that tile, so that's gonna be fun.
It's my favorite tile because it makes me motivated to do like clues, the low-level ones, which can be quite fun, especially when you're like hyped for random uniques. You know, and you can help with stuff like full granite. Some of those are harder than others. I mean, overall, it's just a fantastic board. And I think you'll be able to find something on there that you're interested in going to get.
Yeah, it looks cool. And then to top everything off, you guys have a closing ceremonies planned.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're going to be doing is any drops that you got that work towards a tile, you'll be able to use in a final battle royale between the teams. So let's say, for example, your team managed to get a granite maul and a let's see what else. A Corp Spirit Shield, and you picked up like a Tentacle Whip. Those are 3 of the tiles. You can put one of those on each of your members, or you could gear up one member. I'd imagine a lot of people will just be in there naked, you know, just kicking. Yeah. But it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna say that you're allowed to like complete items. So if you get a serpentine visage, then you can, you know, chisel it and put some scales in, etc. Same with a blowpipe and Actually, we have to talk about that one because that would venom people.
Fair.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're going to let people like sort of upgrade their items. Like if you get a Serb crystal, you'll be able to put dragon boots on it. If you get a primordial, because I mean, at the end of the day, prims aren't really going to help you in a fight.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything else on. So I think it's going to be overall pretty fun. We haven't decided the location, but that'll be the final. And then there's been some whispers of a fashionscape as well going down with a couple people wanting to donate extra bonds.
Yeah, totally. I had someone donate a bond as well. And I'm like, well, we have to, where can I throw this in during the event, right? Maybe we can have a big closing ceremonies with a couple different events going on. It sounds fun. You guys, I think, did a great job, and I'm really looking for, I was so hands off with this one. So all the bingo events has been, I know you've been a big part of it, and then
Weez and I have been working hard.
There's a few other people in the Discord who have the events manager title, where they get to plan all these events out, which is sick.
Yeah, we have a nice little crew that helps out with the bingo. So it's been really good. Everyone always ends up making a lot of money and having fun. You know, you're gonna go dry some places, but that's part and parcel of the
Totally.
game.
That's just the way she goes.
And the pot should be pretty hefty as well. So I imagine it's going to be over 200 mil.
Wow, damn.
So the winning team will get to split out something like 70% of that. So 140 mil to the winning team, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how the final pot ends, but it's going to be nice, and it tends to be the way like a really high level player with lots of money on your team probably isn't in it for the cash, just more for the fun. So you'll end up getting a fair little chunk of money if you're on the winning team. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, looks like you got, and this is like almost like a biannual event. Gotta get a trophy at some point, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we could get like a Discord title for the winning team. We used to do that when I played League of Legends. So the most recent, Bingo Champions title would be kind of cool. Fun.
Yeah.
And then just change it. I think we're aiming for 3 times a year because that seems to be a good. So one now in the spring, one at the end of the summer in like August, and then one in the deep winter, like Christmas time. Well, I guess that's beginning of winter. But yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So we're going to have you can go in the description of this episode and you'll see a link to the form where you can fill out to join the bingo event. Yeah, that's going to be a blast. So as far as updates go, how has your week been? Do you have anything to touch on?
No, I'm 35 raids dry at Theater of Blood for even seeing a unique in anyone's name.
That's no fun.
It's like 3 times the drop rate, maybe a little bit more.
Oh man, that's the way she goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's just the way she goes. You know, the purples will flow one day. I'm not too upset. My first 100 were like 5 purples in my name. Damn. So pretty happy about that. Besides that, I've just been chipping away at the rune crafting, which is, slow going.
Yeah.
And then I've done a couple corp kills, and I've been jumping back into Corrupted Gauntlet a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm getting a lot better. I don't die very much now, maybe like 1 in 10.
Oh, wow, nice.
Stacked out.
It's tough. I was doing it last night.
It is hard.
My ass kicked.
I find it kind of clicks eventually. Like you sort of get took me a while to understand there's only like a certain amount of floor patterns that can show up on each phase.
Yeah.
And then as long as you're not standing still, you're going to be okay. So yeah, it's definitely not easy though.
The way I've always died was getting stacked out for like 100 damage. I'm like full health, and you get stacked out from the tornadoes and the floor tiles, and then the Hunliff itself hits you. It's always like a big hit that kills you.
Yeah, it can be pretty tricky. There's not much you can do about it sometimes. Just if you make one misclick, it can be punishing for sure. But it's fun content. It'd be really nice to have a blade. I mean, realistically, if I got a scythe, then it would sort of become irrelevant. But I think there's enough uses for the blade, especially if I end up playing the game for quite a lot longer, that it'd be nice to just kind of have an undegradable slash weapon, because my whip stack is just completely gone from Theater of Blood.
Oh, yeah?
I've been very unlucky on whips, like 7 in over 8,000 Abbey Demon kills, which is very bad.
That's rough.
I think they're 1 in 500, right? So you'd expect quite a few more than 8, or maybe 7, I can't remember. But I'm basically all out, so the blade's probably worth getting.
It's a sick blade.
Oh yeah, solid blade.
For the non-irons out there, it's tanking in its price. When I got the drop at like 6, 7, or 8 kill count, like I got it so early. It's ridiculous.
200 mil or something, right? When it first came
it was
out.
125 or something, and now it's down to like 70.
They did buff it for a while, right? Because they made it so you could make it undegradable, because it used to be like a degradable weapon. And
no one you put
it.
in like 1,000 crystals and it turns into the corrupted Blade of Saildor.
So it never used to be like that. You could like fully charge it, but it would still lose charges. And we know how people feel about degradable weapons.
It gets old after a while.
It does. It doesn't feel good. It's nice to know your weapon is going to degrade. So then it shot up to like the rapier's price, but now it's tanking like everything else.
Oh man.
What have you been up to this week?
I have, you know what? You kind of covered it all too. I did a little bit of Corrupted Gauntlet, done some rune crafting. Not a whole lot. I mean, I'm playing. I'm just nothing notable. But that's okay, because we have a ton of stuff to talk about. So let's just get into it. Okay, so the first thing we can talk about, the first dev blog we're going to tackle here is The ranged equipment rebalance, or the ranged meta, they want to switch it up a little bit. I think it's we're no stranger that the devs see that the toxic blowpipe might be a problem. And honestly, they've been saying this for a while now. I went back and I tried to find a live stream where ModMattK, they went and asked every dev, like, if there's one thing you would change about old school RuneScape, what would it be? I remember ModMattK was like, I wish we never put the toxic blowpipe in. So strong. We have to balance everything around it. It's a pain in the ass. I couldn't find the clip though, but it's in an older episode of this podcast, so maybe someone might have listened to it on the way up here. But yeah, they want to. They talk about that they think that they should nerf it, but a lot of people complain because this would make a bigger gap between the blowpipe and the next best range weapon, which is the twisted bow. But the problem is the blowpipe is basically one of the best in slots, at least second tier, for almost any scenario, unless they put some arbitrary requirement in, whether it's needing an offhand for it or it has high defense.
Yeah, unless the twisted bow, unless the thing has high magic, the blowpipe's usually going to be best in slot.
Yeah, exactly.
So honestly, I'd say the blowpipe's a better weapon than the twisted bow. Especially
for the price, right? Like $1 bill for the twisted bow.
Oh, yeah. When you factor in the price, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, twisted bow, where it's good, it is fantastic. And it's pretty much unrivaled, but the versatility of the blowpipe is unmatched.
Mm-hmm. And it makes it tricky when balancing things, right? So they mentioned where, like, for Zuck, for the Inferno, they had to make sure Zuck was far enough away from where you could stand so you couldn't blowpipe it. So stuff like that. And even when you give a creature high defense, I mean, we just Dragon Warhammer spec it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they have to make certain things like Lady Verzik, the final challenge at Theater of Blood, is immune to defense reducing attacks.
Right.
Specifically, probably for the toxic blowpipe.
So yeah, the problem with the blowpipe is they have to kind of balance stuff around the blowpipe, which it's problematic when it's like one weapon. It's okay if you're balancing it around a whole tier. Like if you want to balance a monster around the melee meta, that's one thing, but it's another thing to have to balance a monster around just the blowpipe itself. So they talk about how they want to bring in some other equipment to, if they do nerf the blowpipe, so that they can have some other equipment that could maybe take its place in certain spots. Stuff like the crystal bow, because you get the boost when you have the full set of crystal armor. But the problem is, this requires you to have a head slot. So if you're doing Slayer, probably not going to use the crystal bow, and even the top and the bottom. There's probably places where you're not going to want to use it. Mm-hmm. So they gave an example where if you look at like crossbows, it's a very minor upgrade between the rune crossbow, the dragon crossbow, and the armadillo crossbow. And really the crossbow tends to come in clutch if the monster has a lot of HP, so you can use ruby bolts, or if you're forced to use a shield, which is kind of what they have to do for certain things, like the basilisks. So anyways, they touch on in this dev blog here. You can look at it. It's a huge dev blog, and if you're someone who likes to crunch the numbers, this might be worth looking at, because they go through every single ranged item basically, and they talk about why it sucks or why it's good or the issues with it. Right? They have the Carol's crossbow, and I think we all know. I don't know, when does that ever get used? Rarely ever. So they want to obviously rework a bunch of equipment, and range is super strong, and of course, any change to the range meta is going to change a lot of PVM content and how it's done and how much money you're making per hour. So one of the ideas that they're thinking of is, well, one, just nerfing the blowpipe, reducing its damage basically like by half, but also making it rely more on the darts you use to make it strong. Because right now it's, I forget what the numbers are, but you can use like a mithril dart and it's as strong as like best in slot melee or something like that.
Yeah, iron darts like Bandos is the same as best in slot melee with a rapier or a scythe, I think. I can't remember exact, but yeah, something troll like that. Like iron darts are just as strong in certain places. So
they want to make it so that's not the case. So if you really want to put out a lot of damage to the blowpipe, you need to have dragon or rune. They talk about how boosting it from tier 75 to tier 78, and what that means, just it requires 78 range. Another idea that they're playing with, which I think is interesting, but they say a big problem is people are going to want them to rework a lot of content if they nerf the blowpipe. I guess it's kind of controversial, and that's going to take a lot of work because the blowpipe's meta for a lot of things, right? Lizardman Shaman, you as an Iron Man, you spend a lot of time at the Lizardmen trying to get your Dragon Warhammer. Suddenly, it's slower to kill them. You're going to spend that much more time trying to get that Dragon Warhammer, and you can do that with like any boss where blowpipe's used a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors too, including like speed running, which is something that the high, like late game, I guess, end game community is into, like speed running Chambers of Xeric, Inferno, all the difficult content, Theater of Blood, and all this stuff becomes essentially unbeatable now that the blowpipe is being nerfed.
Yeah.
And that's one of the speed running is what people, you notice in old games, like when you get bored of just beating the game on hard mode, people turn to like speed running to challenge themselves.
Yep.
Because of the lack of content in old school RuneScape, I feel like a lot of people have been turning towards speedrunning in the like super end game players. But that, if you look at like some of the top PVM clans, that's kind of like their thing, right?
Yeah.
They go for speed runs and things like that. So that sort of community also gets hurt. I know it's a small percentage, but it's still important.
Yeah, of course, and it's cool for us as like spectators. I think that's what makes RuneScape so beautiful. It's like you have all of these communities within a community, sometimes within a community. And they're all doing their own goals. And they're playing the game completely different than like how I would play it or how you would play it or whoever. So yeah, that's one thing to take into account. This idea that they brought as well that they might do. Again, they're just throwing out ideas. I guess they're throwing out to see what's going to stick, to hear what the feedback is. This one's interesting, and it's going to take a whole, if they think reworking a bunch of content after nerfing the blowpipe is going to take a lot of work. I can't even imagine how much this is going to do. But they want to bring in 3 damage types to ranged, similar to how melee has slash, stab, and crush. They're thinking about doing the same thing with range, but having piercing, bludgeoning, and magical or special. So piercing would be like from arrows using bows. Bludgeoning would be like bolts from crossbows. And then magical / special would be something like the crystal bow.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and I guess it makes it... I think this would be good for the long term. This way, you don't have to worry about, okay, balance the blowpipe. Well, what happens when blowpipe 2.0 comes out in the future? Okay, well, at least now you can be like, well, the blowpipe and anything that's going to fall in that category will sit in this specific damage type. And maybe they can balance it around. That seems the safest to me. It's going to take a whole lot of work because now you have to go through every monster and figure... Some of it won't matter, right? Lower monsters and stuff, but you're going to have to go through and really figure out what kind of defenses they're going to have. And sometimes you're going to have to think what makes the most sense, right? We don't really care what the defense stats are on a skeleton that's level 25, but taking realism in as a factor, they're going to be weak to crush, which makes sense. So they're going to have to look at monsters, and they might have to do the same thing with now ranged.
It'd be a lot of work, you're right.
Yeah, but I guess you could always look at where crushed sits and do the same thing. Anyways, same thing with ranged. But yeah, it'll take a lot of work, but I think, I don't know, I hope they don't just like they take the easy way out, although I get it.
I mean, it doesn't seem like we're gonna have a lot of choice, so seems like a matter we should revisit in the future when they've maybe stamped out what they're gonna do.
And then below this, they say another idea is just having special boss mechanics, which is what they've been kind of doing. But that just gets to me, that feels sloppy. It's hard to keep track of. That Zuck being too far away to actually use the blowpipe, Basilisk Knights requiring a shield.
I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily sloppy. It's just their current workaround for the game state.
What I think the problem is like down the road I always think that like even though we get items, it takes so long to get a new best in slot or a new meta weapon. But I worry that like, okay, you bring out another fast attacking weapon. Maybe they decide it's a good idea to have it have longer ranged. And then I don't know. It's to me, I feel like it would be a little bit tougher as time goes on when you're balancing it that way. But I'm not a developer. What do I know? So yeah, we're going to have to see what they come out with. These are some ideas. They're going to take some feedback from the community. I think this is going to be a tough problem to solve, though. I mean, I guess we'll have to trust that they know what's best. That seems sketchy to say, but
It is. This is a little bit out of our hands, unfortunately. I think they listened to the community last time. They didn't just force the changes down our throat. So
exactly. So
I respect that.
Yeah, and hopefully it's I mean, the issue is when you put, like when I was saying, rebalancing every character to have like different, or every monster to have different stats for the 3 new ranged damage types. We could say, okay, take as much. If it's gonna be a lot of work, but just go ahead and do it now, and then it's done. But then they have to see from a business standpoint, is this going to pay off in like dividends down the road? Is it going to be worth the work putting in? Are they going to get the payout from it?
It's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a big dev blog though. So again, if you're someone who likes to look at the numbers, go ahead and check it. They have all these DPS charts and all this stuff, and to see what performs well with what boss, and the sort of DPS at what level and DPS with what ammo. That's all in that dev blog there. So you can check it out on the site. Moving on to the next one. This is some fishing trawler improvements, and they did bring in some equipment rebalances. They call it Equipment Rebalances Part 1 of many. So that they did a kind of like a rework to fishing trawler. It used to take 10 minutes to do a fishing trawler run. They've cut that in half down to 5 minutes. But because they did this, they decreased how often you get anglers outfits from.
God, I heard it's worse now, honestly.
Well, they said so originally. With a 10-minute run, you had a 1 in 8 chance of getting an angler piece. Now it's 1 in 12. So you should still get them faster overall. But I've heard some people complain because they've added a few more mechanics. So they have a Kraken that will pop up now and it will attack the ship. You can now go on the deck of the boat. You can chop the Kraken tentacles to get some woodcutting experience. You can also fix the nets for some crafting experience. You can, I think, fix some holes for some construction experience. They're adding just like a little bit of extra experience all around. I can't see the rates. I can't imagine it's a whole lot, but it's one of those things where you just kind of, if you're going to do a bunch of fishing trawler, then you'll slowly get some crafting experience.
It's so annoying because now you have to actually like pay attention. So before, the only saving grace of the fishing trawler is you could like do the first 3 minutes, get all your tasks done, and then just AFK for 5 minutes. Come back, click on the screen, AFK for another 3 minutes, and then the game's over. So you actually only had to do things for the first few minutes of the game, and then you could just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was its only saving grace. Now I think you have to be paying attention most of the time because the Kraken attacks you.
Yeah, I've seen that too, and some people complain about that because before you just spam clicked below deck to kind of patch a hole. Although I have seen some people say that if you go with a smaller group, it actually is more fun. It's more engaging. That being said, a lot of us just want to get in and get out. We don't want to engage with the content.
Yeah, I'd love to see them just like remove it and just put the angler's outfit in Temperos because it's just so much better.
Makes
put it as a drop from the rewards pool.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that at this point.
Well, I know fishing trawler is like connected to the diary, but they could just put something on there that's like, I don't know, cook a manta ray or something.
They're trying to make fishing trawler work because it's pretty old content. It's been around for a while, and you definitely notice it when you play it. They're trying to make it more fun, but I think it needs, if they want to keep fishing trawler, I think the best way to do it is to do a whole rework of it, not just adding more mechanics, just completely looking at it and redoing it again. But as like we kind of mentioned with the range meta, that could be a lot of work, and is that worth it? Hard to say.
It is, yeah, you're right.
But we have Temperos, and I know a lot of people enjoy Temperos. Yeah, fishing trawler, not many people enjoy it. But hey, on the positive side, you now get 50% more fish as a reward once you complete a fishing trawler run. You get 50% more experience, and you have twice as many chances to snatch a heron pet. Heron pet. I can't speak. At least the rewards pay off a little bit better than they used to. But next up, we have the Equipment Rebalances Part 1. They use this term so much they actually have an acronym. ERB is what they're calling it. So this is ERB Part 1, and here is what they're doing. These are all minor changes. They seem a little random, but I mean, I'm all for it. They're kind of cool. So medium helmets, we all know medium helmets. Barely anyone wears it. They're the budget when you can't afford the full helmet. I mean, I guess Iron Man would probably wear them, right? Because you sometimes don't have a choice.
Early game, yeah. Sometimes you rock the rune med.
Yeah, from Lesser Demons or something. Oh, sick.
Yep.
Or like leagues. Leagues is the funnest because you see so many people wearing these wonky outfits.
D-meds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes in the Iron in the early, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's right. But they're making it a little bit more. I have to think like PK friendly. So medium helmets are now having its ranged attack. It used to be -1, and they're just making it 0. So you don't have any negative bonuses when you're attacking with range with a medium helmet. Whereas full helmets are being reduced. Your ranged attack is being reduced from -2 to -3. Same with plate skirts and plate legs. It's being reduced from -7 to 11. Plate bodies is also being reduced even more for ranged attack. But similar to medium helmets, square shields are going from -2 to 0. Kite shields are also being reduced more for ranged attack. So I think it's kind of cool because I know back in the day when I used to play, I always wanted to make a ranged tank pure, not pure, but somebody that had high defense and high ranged attack. Because it always looked kind of fun. I mean, I guess I'm all for like weird builds that can sort of work. So it's nice to know that like medium helmets are actually, they might be decent to actually use when you go PKing, even though people still did it because -1. It's not crazy, but still having it 0 is so much better. And being able to have like your square shield with your crossbow or throwing knives, whatever it is, sounds pretty cool.
Yep, decent little change.
And these are kite shields, square shields, plate bodies, medium helmets, full helmets. It's across the board. So everything from bronze all the way to dragon.
I think doesn't seem particularly relevant to like most players.
Yeah, it's pretty minor. It's
relevant to Link and Rarg with their Then We Fight series, but that's about it.
I'm out of the loop on that one, but
it's like these two guys where they just like have like 3 hours in say the RD area, and they have to gear up and fight. And there's literally always the best thing they can possibly have is a rune crossbow with like some kind of d'hide top, tank legs, tank helm, and a shield. It's just always the best thing.
It's always the same.
Yeah, it even beats like, well, it's just a rune crossbow, so disgusting for its level. Even like Addy crossbow, but they're pretty fun little series. It can get old after a while, but they have some like series where they'll do like seasons. Like they did one on Trailblazer League. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, that sounds
very
cool.
different guys too. So, but they get along quite well. Good humor.
It's always good
Anyways,
having a variety.
Small shout out to the boys there.
Nice, I'll have to check them out. Falling behind on my YouTubing, but I got to catch up. But moving on from the armor, they did the same thing. They did some tweaking to some of the weapons. So spears, the attack rate has been decreased to 4, which means you attack faster every 4 ticks you hit. It used to be 6.
Yeah.
This one's cool, and I've heard this has changed some of the PKing meta. But all Warhammers now require strength to wield instead of attack. Right, so you used to need 40 attack for rune Warhammers. Now you just need 40 strength. So there's a lot of maulers out there who keep their attack at like 1. And they just increase their strength, and now people can rock the Dragon Warhammer when they're PKing.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest change in the blog. Like Dragon Warhammers can absolutely smack at low levels now.
Yeah, it's really cool. Next is maces. Their attack rate is also speeding up by 1 tick. And same with Hastas. Hastas are also speeding up by 1 tick. So those are they're pretty minor. Not a lot of people are going to be affected by it, but I like it because when I was a noob back in the day, and I'm pretty sure we all went through the same thing where we want to test out all the weapons. You know, you didn't just sit on the rune scimitar. You wanted to try the rune battle axe and the rune mace and the rune longsword and the rune warhammer. But eventually you realized everything sucks compared to the rune scimitar. I mean, it's still going to be that way a little bit, but at least now you can kind of get away with like a rune mace. A little bit more, at least.
Yeah, I think the mace sorry, not the mace, but yeah, the Warhammer is definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, the Warhammer seems it actually has a use.
Yeah, the rest of them just kind of bring it in line with where it should have been in the first place, probably.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty neat. But now we're moving to the big boys, the big weapons. Well, the big weapon, the twisted bow. Prayer bonus has been reduced from +4 to 0. That's not going to do much to the price of it. Nobody cares about the prayer bonus on that thing.
Yeah, it was nice and unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
+4, that's insane. +4 is a big, pretty chunky prayer bonus. That's like the base Ring of Suffering. No. That's the upgraded Ring of Suffering. It's a +4, I think. Yeah, starts with a +2. It's yeah. Say goodbye to your prayer bonus.
Yeah.
Did you know that all maces, including bronze, have a +4 prayer bonus?
+4.
Yeah.
I thought it was like +1. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, because they're the weapons of the priests, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some like historical roots in that one. I don't know.
Maybe it's just +1. Maybe I'm messing up. I'm just gonna look it up for a second, so I'm not trolling here. Oh, it does scale. Okay, so bronze and iron are +1, and then steel, black are 2, and it goes up all the way to 5 for the dragon mace and 4 for the rune mace.
Damn, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
Surprising.
I like little stuff like that. It's most people aren't going to just suddenly start using dragon maces because its attack rate sped up a little bit and it has the prayer, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of neat. It's fun trivia. Moving on to the Dragonstone gauntlets. Yeah, these exist. The range attack is going to be reduced from -2 to -3, so similar. We can throw that up there with the plate bodies and kite shields. Next is the Dragon Bone and the Bone Crusher necklace, which it used to be just a useless item that increased your prayer bonus. But now it has some actual stats to go along with it. So all of its attack stats have increased from 0 to 10. So that's in line with the Glory, I believe. All defense stats have increased from 0 to 2, which is just 1 less than the Glory, and similar to and so is the melee strength bonus it has. So from 0 to 2, which is still less than the Glory. But yeah, I'm sure some people might want to rock this if they're like maybe AFK killing something and they're keeping their prayer up.
Yeah, maybe.
At least with the Bone Crusher necklace, it might have its uses. Who knows?
I think people use that Hydra to like crush the bones when they kill Hydra.
True.
Something might help. But yeah, it's pretty niche thing. Pretty much unable to get one on Iron Man. It's fairly rare.
Yeah, they are rare, aren't they?
You need a 1 in 1k from Vorkath and a 1 in 1k from Hydra. Or 1 in 500 from Hydra? I can't remember. You need to combine them to make the necklace.
Oh, for the Bone Crusher necklace.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have the Hydra piece, but not the Vorkath one.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
But it's pretty useless, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's one of those things you can get really mad at when you do get the drop if you're on a main account or something, not trying to complete the collection log.
Oh yeah.
Basilisk Knights have lost their special attack, although their superior version has retained it. Yeah, and that's it for the first edition of equipment ERB. The first edition of ERB, equipment rebalance changes. So they took the easy ones first, which makes sense. Yeah. Next we have a bunch. This is Poll 75 game improvements blogs. We have a shit ton of questions to go through. Some of them are more relevant than others, but yeah, let's start it off with the new proposed Slayer helmets. So right now, there's a bunch of recolors for your Slayer helmet, right? You can get one for KBD, Vorkath, Gotizo, Calvite Queen, Abyssal Demon, Olm. Yeah, you can get one from Olm. Am I missing one? Hydra. And you get one for Hydra.
Hydra, yep. Yeah, there's 6.
There's 6, okay.
No, there's more than that. But they're not reworking all of them. They're leaving the Hydra one, I think.
Beforehand, they were just recolors. There was the same model for the most part, and just the colors were different for each version of it, but they want to change. They basically want to overhaul it. So, for example, instead of the KBD recolor just being a black helmet with red eyes, they want to actually add 3 horns to it. Or like Vorkath, instead of it just being blue, they want to have it so it has 1 horn and a broken horn. So they're all going to look unique as well as recolored.
What do you think of them?
I think they look cool. I've seen people complaining about them, and I feel like I might be out of the loop, but they all look pretty cool to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're sweet, man.
Yeah.
Especially the KBD one is my absolute favorite.
That's the one I'm seeing people complain about, and I don't understand it.
Are you serious? It's so sick.
Yeah, this was posted on Twitter, so maybe it was Twitter that I saw some people complaining about the KBD helmet
Twitter.
and Vorkath as well, but I was like, man, These look awesome.
Yeah, a few of my friends with the Vorkath helm don't particularly like it, but at least it's better than the current one, surely.
It's surprising. Yeah, it looks... I like the Vorkath one.
Calphite one's cool.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of upgrades to the Abyssal head, but at least they make the spikes longer on the top.
Yeah, that's right.
I think overall it's really, really sweet. I love the KBD one.
Mhm.
That's the one I currently have too. I don't mind it as is, just kind of plain black, but this is sweet, like giving the helms like actual textures instead of just color.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I hope this one passes.
That's the best part of the twisted one, right? Like it looks so cool with the horns. I don't particularly like the color of it because it's a little boring to me, but
Of which one?
the horns itself, sorry, the Olm one, the twisted kit one, twisted horns.
Right, that's the only one that's not just a recolor.
Yeah, the textures look insane, but I don't particularly like the color scheme, but which is why I think it's so cool that they are changing the other ones.
Perfect. Yeah,
So, overall, fantastic change for sure.
I am totally on board. Next, so the polling, should we do this change? You'll have to go on Twitter or the old school RuneScape website to see the blog, and you'll see a GIF, spinning around so you can see the full thing there. Next question, actually going back because we skipped one, but they're asking, should players have the ability to store one Slayer task on their account for later? This ability to store a Slayer task will cost 1,000 Slayer points, and it will cost 50 points per Slayer task stored.
What do you think about this one?
I don't know. It seems random, kind of. Like I get it. Maybe it's cool if I if I have an Abbey Demon task and I bang out like half the task killing Sire, and then I want to break. Right, you get bored of that real quick, and then maybe save that for later and go do another task and then come back to it.
Yeah,
But it seems unnecessary, to be honest. I don't know.
I kind of like it, especially just because like the late game Slayer can be so painful. So let's say you're like getting towards late game, you're gonna want like an Arma task later, but you don't want to do it right now. You want to wait for maybe a few more levels.
Yeah.
You can just skip it.
That's fair.
Or save it for later. 1,000 points is no joke. Like that's a very serious investment of points.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you were going to spend them skipping. So I don't know. I think if you unlocked it early on the grind, it'd be decent. But like if you're just going out right now and you have 0 points, you want to grind out 1K, that's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So it's you definitely pay for it. I think it's appropriately priced for like kind of the power level that it brings. But I like this addition to being able to store. It's been polled in various forms before. I don't actually know if it's going to pass. It seems a little too radical for us,
Yeah, it's what direction is this game heading? But you made a good point because
You remember how Boss Slayer got completely slapped down?
oh yeah, and it was like I think it was a mod, like a junior mod had just joined, and they're like, "This is my first pitch for content
Project.
Just
Slapped back by the community.
yeah,
Yeah, and like a little bit gatekeepery in that regard too. But I mean, yeah, it was a radical idea for sure.
yeah. But you made a good point with the There's been many times where I'll get the Aviansi's task to go kill. I would go kill Kriera at God Wars, but that's can be a pain in the ass to do, and I got to think, do I want to do that right now? No, then I skip it. So you make a good point of like, at least I could bank it and then wait till I have, some people on. Hey, let's go make a Friday event out of this.
Exactly. Yeah, you could save your armor task for when your friend also gets one.
True.
And then keep doing Slayer along the side. So I think it's really cool overall. And it's great for Ironman as well. I don't know if you'd actually unlock it. I probably, because let's say you unlock it reasonably early because you have a few thousand points to play with. And then you can bank a task that is going to be really good for you later, like Greater Demons, for example. And then you can keep powering through other tasks until you get to a point where you want to do Zami, and then you can go and do the Greater Demons task.
That's interesting.
So things like that could be good. Yeah, or you could bank like an Abbey Demons task, and yeah, I think overall it's pretty sweet. Or like maybe a Wilderness task. If you're a main, you can bank a Wilderness task.
Oh, that's the one disclaimer they say. This won't work with Wilderness Slayer, or this will not work for Wilderness related tasks. They say.
Oh, I was gonna say because that would have been the best, right? Because let's say it's Friday night, you're doing some Slayer, and you get a Vananatis task, and you're like, it's just gonna be way too hot with PKers. So I'm gonna save that for Monday or something after work. It's too bad that won't work because that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I feel you there because I have a Callisto task and I can't do it on the weekend, so it's been taking me a while to get through it.
Yeah, you'd have to stay up real late to be able to do that on the weekend.
Yeah, and but yeah, a question like this, it's it seems unnecessary, but it also doesn't seem to me. I'm like, I don't really see the negatives for it. But I'm sure there's gonna be some people complaining, right? That's the problem. Like, this one, I can see it failing. And
that reminds me of when I got my dragon pickaxe. It was like Friday. I'd gone to bed early, and I decided I'll set my alarm for 6 a.m. So I woke up at 6 a.m. and just pound out because that's the only time really it was low for PKers.
Oh wow, yeah.
The other option, because on West Coast I could stay up really late till like DGen hours, like 2 a.m, and then it's 5 East Coast, and then nobody would be on.
Oh, those are the good times.
So you get some. Yeah, those are the good times. You never know what happens.
So many memories being a kid at like 4 a.m. being like, wow, this is gonna fuck my week up.
Yeah, it's good time to do worldy content late at night for sure.
Oh man, I haven't pulled one of those all nighters. When I was like younger, and we would do like, be at a friend's house, and I'd sleep over, and we'd be playing RuneScape or other games all night. We'd call it like Doomsday. The first one to fall asleep, you get a fuck with them. Good times.
Oh yeah.
Now I can't make it past midnight. So, oh boy. Anyways, let's move on to the next question. They are asking, so for the Hydra right now, when the Hydra does an auto attack, every 3 auto attacks, it switches from range to mage, and then vice versa. It's one of the counting mechanics, and players aren't too keen about having to count for that mechanic. So what they did with the Hunlift for the Gauntlet, and I think what they are asking to do with the Hydra, is to have an actual animation for when it changes its attack style. So you don't have to, you'll probably still be beneficial to count, but at least sometimes if you lose count, you can just watch the Hydra, see when it's going to pop over to the next attack style.
Yeah, it just makes it less annoying. It doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, exactly. And if anything, it might make it harder if you're not counting, because I know for the Gauntlet, there's that time, there's the, I forget what it's called, but there's like an app that counts for you.
The Gauntlet Helper, yeah, with Perp's voice. 2, 1, mage, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, you turn it on like your browser.
Yeah, like I need that. Even though the Hunlift at the Gauntlet has an animation for when it switches attack styles, that's not enough for me. I need to have someone telling me.
The Gauntlets, there's a lot more going on, right? You're switching weapons, you're switching offensive prayers, you're moving specifically to avoid things. Hydra, you go to a specific tile and you click the boss. There's not much to it. Mm-hmm. It's not very hard. So it isn't making the content easier. It's just making it way less annoying.
Exactly.
Now you probably won't have to count.
Yeah.
You could just chill.
Yep. Not a fan of the counting mechanic.
I'm into this change. Yeah. Hydra was like, I only did 1 task. So like I said, I can't complain too much, but if you have to do thousands, it would probably get pretty tedious.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I think it would make the boss a lot more enjoyable to do.
Yeah, I agree. Next question. This is in regards to the Abyssal Sire. So right now, before you can even start the fight, you have to attack these respirator systems. There's like 4 of them. So you need to kill them, and then the Sire steps off the platform, and then you can fight it. They're asking do you want to gain some Slayer experience for this? You'll get 50 Slayer experience for each respiratory kill.
It doesn't really solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You could give me triple the Slayer XP for the Sire and it would still be terrible.
On the live stream, I think it was a live stream, they mentioned, or somebody pitched the idea of, instead of having 4 respiratory systems to kill, just double the health of 2 of them, but make it so there's only 2 to kill instead of 4.
And make it so you didn't have to run out and bring a stamina potion to do a big trip.
Yeah,
that would be much better. It's just little things about Abyssal Sire that add up, the 4, like you have to run back, and so you have to bring a stamina potion or like super energies or something. Then it's a slow ass boy when he walks off that platform. He takes so long to get to the middle, and then you attack him, and then he walks slowly again to his second spot.
I've seen people say like he's an Abbey demon. Why can't he just teleport like the Abbey demons do?
Well, he's a big boy, so I don't really know. It's just all the little things that add up to make Sire really annoying. It's not one thing in particular.
It gets rough when you have like 200 to kill. That's the problem.
Oh, and then I think, the worst part is obviously the bludgeon as well. Like not being able to cash in the 1/3 of the bludgeon, like being forced to stay.
True.
That must be brutal. Yep. Sucks.
That is rough.
So it's all the things combined that make the boss terrible. But, I suggest anyone who's there to, you can at least try it out so you know how bad it is. Gives you an appreciation for some more fun bosses.
Whenever I get an Abbey Demon task, I always go kill like 20 of them and then I tap out. Sometimes I go to just Abbey Demons and AFK it there, or sometimes I just go skip the task. But I always go try to kill 10, 15, 20. And then once I'm like, okay, I'm done. Move on to the next one.
Imagine you're just like a low level player and you go and you like get spooned on Sire at like 20 KC and you get a bludgeon piece.
Oh.
Like now you're just locked into going to get, if you really want to get that 30 mil drop or whatever the bludgeon's worth.
Yeah.
You just committed.
Yeah, you got 7 mils sitting there.
I met a dude that went like, he got a bludgeon piece real early and then went like 700 dry to get the second piece.
No.
Yikes.
Oh boy. Jagex loves screwing with its players when it comes to the drop tables and drop rates.
This one is kind of an irrelevant question. I think the boss needs looked at again.
Yeah. And people complain about it all the time. And will they? I guess we'll have to see. Moving on to the next question, though. They're asking if they should add more Bloodveld spawns in the God Wars dungeon for Konar's tasks. Because I guess right now when you get assigned... So the way, if you don't know, Konar is a Slayer master on Zaya in the Kabos Lowlands. But her gimmick is that she assigns you a Slayer monster to kill in a specific location. So if you get assigned Bloodvelds to go kill at the God Wars dungeon, there's like 3. I don't even know how many. There's a handful of them.
There's not many, no.
Yeah, so it could take forever on top of having to deal with all the other monsters that you're going to aggro unless you bring the God pieces.
It's a bad task. I did it once when I was very low level.
Interesting. Can you do the Wilderness God Wars dungeon?
Yep.
Okay, so that's...
I don't see why not.
Okay, not too bad. So anyways...
I sometimes, when I get a spiritual creatures task, I'll go there and try and get 5 keys.
Yeah.
Because it's very quick to just sort of power through with a blowpipe.
I do the same thing. Or if I get Aviancies and I don't feel like... If I can't bank my Slayer task and I don't feel like killing Kriera right away, I'm gonna go stock up on some ecumenical keys.
Oh, yeah.
They're always nice to have. So yeah, the question is, should they add more Bloodveld spawns in the God Wars dungeon so they don't suck to kill if you get them assigned?
That's a bingo prep pro tip, by the way. You can't like get clue scrolls and stuff, but you could bank a task or bank Slayer points. I usually bank 5 keys, get a bunch of food ready for a week of PVM.
Oh yeah, true. As Iron Man, you do have to actually prep them. It's like us mains just stroll on over.
But I mean, as a main, you could just, for the few days before, you could power out some like Wildy Slayer, get a bunch of points banked for Slayer, or you could get 5 keys so that you could head to God Wars pretty quick. Lots of little things you can do for fun before.
Yeah, exactly. It's a smart move. And either way, having the keys are always just kind of nice to have,
especially for Arma and Ceradomin.
Yeah, definitely. Next question. They want to know if they should add a Dust Devil area under the Caridian Desert with a Slayer assignment required to fight the Dust Devils. Because I guess right now there's limited locations to kill Dust Devils, and you may or may not have to deal with bots in those areas. Bots or people barraging.
I mean, isn't there already Dust Devil spot below the desert?
Yeah.
Near Polnovich? I don't know how to say it. Near the desert town. I'm pretty sure because I remember being assigned by Konar a few times to go down there and kill Dusties. Where there's like the haze. You know the smoke dungeon? The one where you have to go in? Is this a different dungeon they're talking about?
Okay, sorry. This is going to be a extended part in the original Dust Devil dungeon. But this one you can only kill in Slayer task, but it's multi-combat and you can barrage them. So I guess the problem is the only place to barrage them now is in the catacombs, the Zaya catacombs. But I think people are dealing with a lot of bots there for some reason.
Interesting. So it's giving people another option.
Yeah.
But you can also just casually burst them there if you want 99 magic, Dusties. Like you don't need a task in the Karen.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why there's a bunch of bots there. I've seen pictures of it.
The feels bad would be that whenever you get a superior, you won't get the guaranteed Skatizo totem.
Right.
Shard.
Right.
So I feel like it would feel bad having to go to the desert to do that.
Yeah.
So I wish there was a little more incentive. Or maybe like a Slayer only area in the catacombs, but that gets a bit dicey.
Yeah, there's so many spots. Catacombs is already like somehow they got away with the catacombs without people complaining it looking like a private server.
What do you think if the catacombs was Slayer only?
I don't know.
It would eliminate Brutal Blacks for mains
True.
on the rebuild. It would eliminate people doing Abyssal Demons off task, but you could do that in the Slayer Tower.
Yeah, that's tricky because
you really only go there for Slayer, right? There's not a whole lot as far as I can think.
That's the only reason I go there, although I don't know if I'm ever going to be in a spot where I don't have the Slayer points to skip a bunch of tasks, and I might, like, what happens if I need Arc Light charges? I don't know if I'll ever be in that spot.
True, yeah, because they're so connected, yeah. I imagine if you're hunting this Skatizo pet and you're super dry, then you probably are bursting off task.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you're 99 Slayer already. Yeah, that's fair. You're right.
It's a tricky one. Anyways, so the next question, should they add a... So the next question is about skeletal wyverns. There's a cave by Mud Skipper Point, I think it's called. And right now you have to run through a bunch of the ice warriors and ice giants to get to the skeletal wyverns, but they ask, should we add a shortcut before the ice warriors and giants area? It would require 72 agility.
What do you think?
Sure. I'm surprised there isn't one, to be honest, but
yeah, that place is bought to hell. Skeletal wyverns.
Is it? Yeah, okay, true.
Yeah, they're great consistent money, kind of like Baby Vorkath.
Yeah, I used to AFK there.
They drop very consistent drops, like, you know, Dragon Plate Skirts, like good alkables.
Yeah.
They drop good
magic
good
logs
seeds, like Ranar's magic logs, things that are very stable in price, kind of like Vorkath.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like 500k an hour or something. So easily AFK too.
Yeah, easy to AFK. I know people make their wyvern alts.
Plus the Visage chance.
Yeah, true.
Not bad.
Although I don't think the ice giants are preventing like bots or anything. They seem kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, this is mostly just for mains.
Yeah,
right?
so a shortcut seems fair to me. I wouldn't have to bring a stamina potion when I go there. Maybe I would. I don't know.
Probably not. Not with this shortcut.
Yeah, let's hope not. All right, next question has to do with the Kraken. So right now, before you kill the Kraken boss, there is 4 tentacles you must summon first by shooting your bow or using magic to hit these smaller whirlpools. You hit all 4 of them, then you can hit the big whirlpool in the middle, the Kraken spawns, boom, you can fight it. They're asking, should you be able to spawn all 4 tentacles by using fishing explosives instead? Just throw them into the water. Right now, fishing explosives are only used for, I think they're called Mogers. Is that what they're called? At Mud Skipper Point. You throw them in there in the water, Mogers come out, you fight them. I think that's the only time you use them. So now you would have another reason to use them. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it speeds up your kills per hour, so definitely is a huge, pretty big buff, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
because you don't have to bring an annoying like magic short bow or something and wake up all the tentacles. I think it's cool personally. It's not like it's devaluing your Kraken pet. No offense.
Oh yeah,
it's like the most common pet in the game. So just suck it up. And then realistically, it makes a Kraken task faster.
Yep.
And it's not a horrible task, Kraken.
No, I love that task. It's kind of, it's nice. It's like it's weird that it's a boss, but it's pretty AFK.
It's not really a boss.
Yeah,
right? Like it is and it isn't.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just like a big. Yeah, it's not really. It's like a demi boss.
Which is one of the reasons why I'd be okay with this. It's like, yeah, it makes it quicker. It doesn't make it like easier, just like less tedious. And it's already like a joke of a boss. So just.
I like the idea of an item that kind of has a single use now having a purpose elsewhere, especially at
very
endgame.
Thematic, you're right.
Yeah, I'm down for that. The next one is to do with Zulrah. I guess there's a boat that will bring it to Zulrah called the Zulrah boat. Should we add a quick right-click option to board it? I don't know if I've ever used the boat, to be honest, so I don't know. But I know there's a lot of bots, a lot of gold farmers who go to Zulrah. This would probably speed things up for them.
Realistically, all it's stopping, when you get to the island, doesn't it just stop the text box that shows up?
That boat.
That's the boat. It's the sacrificial boat that you use to get to the island.
I was thinking there was some boat in Mauritania somewhere that, there's a boat that brings you to the Barrows area.
Yeah, I think it's just going to stop like the chat. I'm not 100% sure. You might have to read a little bit more and it might tell you. I remember reading and being like, yeah, I guess
yeah,
so.
I mean, yeah, I'm on board with that one.
As a former Zulrah locked Ultimate Iron Man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't want to just like not make these quality of life changes because it's going to make bots and like gold farmers get to Zulrah quicker, and it's like you can't You can't base content around that because then we're all losing.
They're gonna grind it all day anyways, so.
But the next question to do with Zulrah is, so right now you can get boss tasks for Slayer. You unlock them, I think it's like 1,000 points or something, but you unlock boss Slayer, you'll randomly, every now and then you'll get a boss task. It'll say, hey, do you want to kill bandos? And then how many times you want to kill it? Do you want to kill it between 3 and 35? You could choose your own number. But Zulrah was the odd one out because you could only increase it from 3 all the way to 15, not 35, because it was such a good moneymaker. And I guess they're thinking that seems pointless now. Why don't we just increase it to 35? So that's the question.
Seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's and Zulrah is not even like that. Isn't crazy good money anymore. It's
terrible. It's like $1 mil per hour. I've heard.
Yeah, something like that.
Scales are like less than 100 GP. They used to be like 250, right?
Yeah, and we have raids and all these other pieces of content that make so much. Vorkath, everything makes more money than Zulrah.
Vorkath just laughs and hides. And it used to be a question on which one was the better moneymaker, and now it's undoubtedly 3 times better at Vorkath.
Yeah.
Zulrah is still great to learn game mechanics, absolutely.
And you still make good money. It's not bad money. It's just not as good.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
It used to be called the Money Snake.
Chance at those mutagens too. Mutagens and pets.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, those are sick too. Yeah, and it's a fun boss. I still like to jump on and kill it every now and then. The next is Grotesque Guardian. So the Gargoyles got a boss that you can kill. There's 2 of them in there. Similar to the Abyssal Sire, some people don't like that. There's kind of like downtime, and there's certain parts of the fight where you're just going to take damage. Nothing you can do about it. And one of those has to do with these orbs. And I think it's the second phase. They throw out a couple of these orbs. You have to run and pick them up. If you don't, they're going to come and hit you and take damage. But if you run to go pick them up, you're suddenly not DPSing the boss. So there's like no incentive to try to out damage. So that's the thing. People love having the ability to skip phases by outperforming. This is not one of them. But so the question is, should we remove the damage from the orbs when correctly absorbed? I think you take like 5 damage when you absorb them, but you take like 50. I can't remember how much damage it is. It's been so long since I've got this task, and I actually really want this task. It's been so long.
Yeah, this boss is pretty universally disliked for its, not maybe for the mechanics, but for how slow it is. It's not very fast. So I think any change they could make, especially you keep in mind, what back of my head is that the blowpipe is going to be nerfed, and this is one of the first polls to address a few rebalance issues. Guardians is going to be one of the worst things to do in a post blowpipe nerf world, because you're probably not going to be able to skip phases unless a minimum you're using dragon darts.
So yeah, should they guess they want to make that phase a little bit nicer, but on top of that, they also want to add a visual cue to the Grotesque Guardians to show where the stuns will land. I don't know what they mean. I have to be honest. It's been so long.
I don't. Maybe like where the balls are going to land so that you can go and absorb them so that it doesn't gain health back. Because that's what happens is if you've never done Guardians, the Major or the Ranger, the one that's flying in the air, she throws out these 3 orbs, and usually you can just ignore them and DPS through and kill her before they blow up to a big enough size. Because if they do, she'll absorb them and heal a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So you just skip it normally, but this is trying to say like the actual mechanic you're supposed to do is go and stand on them to like pop them, but that wastes time and makes the boss even slower.
Yeah, but the second question is talking about a visual cue be added to the Grotesque Guardians to show where the stuns will land.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, because I know there's a stun. You get knocked back from the melee Guardian. Oh, the problem is it's been so long since I've had that task.
But I'm pretty sure there's a visual cue for it. Like
yeah,
the
there
light
is.
It goes a little orange and everything like lights up. I'm not fully sure, but yeah, you're right. They're trying to like just do a couple changes here to update the boss a little bit. I think you could do with a little bit more than that personally.
Yeah. It's a fun boss though. It's a great learning boss.
It is fun.
We've had some people ask before about like getting into bossing and all that stuff, and we kind of neglected Grotesque Guardians, but I think that's like for the amount of mechanics and how easy the boss is and how accessible it is. It's like a great boss to learn mechanics before going into Zulrah or something.
Yeah, it's not very punishing.
Yeah, and you need 70 Slayer, I think, to do it. Something like that.
Yeah, this is one of those bosses that I think is going to be absolutely crippled by the blowpipe nerf.
Yeah.
But we'll see when it comes. But yeah, any changes to make them a little bit more friendly is good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for those pet hunters out there. It's a pretty sick pet.
All right, this next one is the big old corporeal beast. So right now, for players, when you're soloing it, you have to spec it down a bunch of times, which means running in, specking, teleporting to your house, refilling your spec, running back out, specking it again. Do that over and over again until you hit. There's a whole whack of stuff you're supposed to do. But the problem is you spec them down, and when you leave, the boss's health heals all the way up. The drop is based on who does the most damage. So what could happen is somebody could see you specking them down, and then somebody could just jump in and do a bunch of damage and take that kill. So they want to make a change so that people can't get crashed as easily. So instead of the boss regaining all of its health and resetting, instead the boss would just have increased health regeneration in general. And they said that this should not change the meta. So, but after 3 minutes, the corporeal beast would still reset its health. After 3 minutes.
So, can you read the first phrase? They have some reasoning behind why they wanted to make this change in the first place.
All right, let's do it. So they say this is a complicated one. So strap in. Is that what you're talking about? This sentence?
Yes.
So the main strategy for solo players to take on the corporeal beast is to spec it down, leave the instance, recharge the spec via player-owned housing, and then repeat this process until it becomes vulnerable enough to DPS it down. This leaves the instance open to crashing because the health of the boss completely resets when a player is no longer present. Since rewards are based off damage dealt to the boss, solo players who carry out this strategy are not fairly rewarded for the efforts they have contributed if they're crashed by another player. Although solo players can opt to purchase their own instance, it will only remain open if the player is using another account to keep it open.
Yeah, so I feel like they're misunderstanding the fundamental problem of Corp and Corp crashing. With that, if someone wants to crash you at Corp, they're just going to wait for the right moment and then go in and slaughter the boss with spec transfer, etc. And there's essentially nothing you can do against these max players that have, Infernal Capes, max gear, and the fact that they're going to get in there with multiple specs on their crystal halberds, but more than you can as a solo main. This isn't irrelevant to Iron Man.
Yeah, you guys already have your safe haven.
So this health regen thing, they're trying to say if you've been specking it down, it will give you a slightly better chance. But the reality is you're just going to lose to crashers every single time. Yep. So I think they need to rework it even more than that. So that maybe a few people have suggested cumulative damage. So every time you spec, because you have to spec 3 Dragon Warhammers, 20 Arc Lights, and then 200 BGS. People are saying if you could make that count towards overall damage towards the boss and leave the health regen as is in the resetting, that would give you an extra, say, 600 damage that you've dealt over the course of specking it down. So that if you are faced with someone that's only coming in for the final 2,000 health while Corp is a chicken, that you already have an extra 600 in the bank, so you're going to beat them. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you? So it's all your hard work is being rewarded by cumulatively adding towards the overall damage.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not like that right now.
Instead of just being the original. That's a really good suggestion. I'm not sure how like I said, I'm not a developer, so I don't know how hard that is to work. Another very, very, very simple fix would be no spec transfer allowed inside the Corp
cave.
True. Because I think that's very toxic. You can just sit out there with your alt, or bring your alt in spec transfer, and get 6 Crystal Halberd hits, which are just you can hit hundreds with them.
Yeah.
So I think Corp crashing is a real problem in this game. I remember being a main, and even with a group of friends that all have close to max gear, getting crashed by Corp crashers and losing because they'd come in at specific times, and while you were BGSing, they would just wait there and start stacking up their damage. It's really toxic behavior, and I think they really do need to address it because, like they said, opening an instance is not very fun.
Totally, yeah.
You have to, go into the instance every time. You have to make sure an account doesn't log out in there. It's
clunky, yeah. If you're doing it solo too, what are you gonna do? Pay membership twice, right? Jagus wants you to do that, but
as a solo player, it's not worth it to do Corp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the crashers are a problem, and they're really not a nice part of this community for sure.
Yeah, it's a tricky part.
I hope they need to do better than this to deal with the problem, in my opinion. small rant over. It's just annoying when that happens to you. You know, you've worked so hard. Or not particularly hard, but you've invested time into getting this kill, and then someone just comes in and swoops it out from under you.
Yeah, I think you mentioned last week you spend 15 minutes prepping it, right?
It's not like you're at Bandos where you get crashed by max team. It's like, oh, okay, boys, like fair enough. You can have the world, we'll hop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's only really lost us a few minutes. This is like 20 minutes that you've invested. It's not really, but let's say like 12, 13, 14 minutes you've invested into speccing this thing down, and then now someone just comes in and swoops it from you.
Yeah, you not only do you lose, but the player is getting rewarded, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine before?
I have.
It's like the vulture coming in and sniping those cases when there's only 2% left.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they leave it in the milk.
Bastards.
But that's the kind of thing I'm not a big fan of. So
yeah, no, it's not fun. All right, so the next question, poll question number 14, has to do with the gauntlet. So right now there's no way to get out of the gauntlet except for teleporting out of the main room that you start the gauntlet in. So they're proposing the option to create a teleport crystal that will teleport you outside of the gauntlet back to Pravdina's for 200 crystal shards. This is mainly for hardcore Ironmen, so they don't get trapped in there and are forced to die if they're unlucky to do so. Yeah, because you can't teleport out right now, which is crazy, and it's not a safe death, which also is confusing because it seems like it would be a safe death to me. But yeah, I'm surprised this wasn't already added in beforehand.
Yeah, it's kind of a death sentence if you go in there, basically. Until the new meta was like established, where you like get tier 3 armor.
Oh, is that how you do it now?
Yeah, for not for mains, but for hardcores, the meta is to get tier 3 armor so that even like tornadoes plus stomp won't stack you out. You'd need to be like on the disco floor with a stomp and hit all 4 tornadoes to die.
Interesting.
And then since the Hun lift barely, it doesn't, usually the Hun lift will chip, you know how it kind of chips you out even if you have the right prayer on? So you end up needing like 15 food or whatever to get through the fight with tier 1. With tier 3, you barely get any chip damage.
Oh, that's so interesting.
You can get away with like 8 food, I think is what they take. Anyways, Roydy did like 900 KC on his hardcore to get the blade.
Oh, wow.
So he pretty much perfected the method, and it seems like a lot of people are following in his footsteps, because I would say tier 1 corrupted gauntlet with doing tier 1 armor with level 3 weapons is like probably the most dangerous content in the game.
It's tough. I have to look up the meta because that's what I've been doing, just tier 1 armor. I'm a main account, so it's not that big of a deal, but you can definitely get stacked out for like 120 damage.
Oh, easily. Yeah. If you just misclick once and the tornadoes catch you in the corner and you're just dead.
Oh, it's frustrating.
it definitely can be. So imagine losing your hardcore status. They're like a cold one, arguably one of the best PVMers in the entire game. Lost his.
That was the first one I thought of. He soloed Theater of Blood, which was like a huge spectacle, and then it took a load of practice, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it's the next day he went to Corrupted Gauntlet and boom, yeah, died.
I mean, literally it just takes one mistake and you go down at the Gauntlet. Not that you could say that about Theater of Blood too, but he put in his work there. Sometimes things happen at the Gauntlet that are so random. Like most number 1 death, at least for me at this point at Theater of Blood, is dialing to the Nilokas at Verzik, the little crabs that come out. Because the closer you are to them, they can deal up to like 45 damage, I think, when they're really close to you. So it can get chaotic if you don't see a crab, plus you take a little bit of damage from Verzik, like you can get stacked out from almost max health if you're not paying attention. And I feel like Corrupted Gauntlet fighting the Hunlift with tier 1 armor is like that, but all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's death at every corner. So anyways, with the new meta, I think it's less relevant, but
at least now, if this passes, there'll be an option for hardcores to, at least if they run out of the food, they can teleport out. But piggybacking off that question, the next question is they want to know if they should introduce a new type of food into the Corrupted Gauntlet and the regular Gauntlet. Sorry, it's going to replace the paddlefish, which is basically the only food you use right now. I think it heals for like 20. I'm not mistaken. And this is going to be a combo food, so kind of like carrot bombs, and it will take 10 crystal shards plus the paddlefish to create it, and it's going to heal less than the original paddlefish, so it'll allow you to combo eat if you need to.
People have been getting away without it, but I guess maybe for learning, it will help you.
Yeah, and I guess as we just said, it's so easy to get stacked out. It would be nice to at least be able to quickly combo up some food to maybe not die. I don't know.
Once you get comfortable with the gauntlet, though, I find that while you're running away from the tornadoes, if you're low on health, that's when you can you have enough time to just kind of eat, move. And then when the tornadoes disappear, then you can get back on the boss from full health.
Yeah, totally. You realize there's little openings every now and then to chomp on a food.
But I guess if you have a combo food, you could combo and then start attacking in between, while running away from tornadoes. I don't know. It's maybe. Sure, why not? I'm not against it for sure.
Next question has to do with the Blade of Saildor, and this idea was proposed by the player Mojo Tun on Reddit, and it's basically just recoloring your corrupted Blade of Saildor. Right now, you can buy these little crystal shards from a shop in Prifdina's, and you use it to recolor I think it's a 200 mil crown you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But now you can, if this passes, you'd be able to use these crystals to also recolor your Blade of Saildor.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not? I always found it a little bit off-putting that the Blade of Saildor is the same red, the deep red as a rune, a dragon sim.
Yeah, that's true. It was again, this got introduced when I was taking a break back when COVID first kind of struck. But they introduced the corrupted Blade of Saildor. I didn't even realize what this was at first, and then I learned. Yeah, you charge it with 1,000 shards, and it no longer consumes shards. But it does look silly. It doesn't look it doesn't look. I thought the original version looked better.
Yeah, I think the recolor will definitely help a lot. Especially, I think there's a black one, so that will look really sick.
So the next question is about Chambers of Xeric. This has to do with how the points kind of scale currently. So if I'm not mistaken, right now the points scale based on combat level, which maxes out at 115. And they say that at 115, the points per damage is 5. However, when you're lower, the points is less, but it's always rounded down. So if you're level 114, it'll be rounded down to 4 points per damage. So they're asking if basically they should remove that and make it more accurate.
Is that what they were? There was another question where I thought that for every damage you deal, they round down instead of rounding up. So people dealing less damage would get slightly more points. Is that the next question?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe I think I flipped them.
You flipped them.
So yeah, the first...
Okay, so...
Yeah, I flipped them, sorry. But yeah, the first question has to do with rounding the points to make it more accurate. Because what they say is if you're 114, technically the points you get would be 4.9 per damage, which would then get rounded down to 4, which isn't quite...
an accurate representation of what damage you're dealing. Yeah, I think it's going to be a small change, but overall, basically... if you're better at Chamber of Xeric and you do more damage, then you're going to get slightly more points. And if you're lower, you're going to get slightly worse points. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Probably should have been this way. You should never round down. That's silly.
That's odd. I see. It's one of those things that I didn't even realize it, and
I'm not sure anyone really knew. So
yeah, I don't think people are crunching numbers like that, but I guess some people are to maybe this got brought up on a live stream, or maybe Dragus was discussing how the points work on a live stream. People realized it was kind of off.
Anyways, that's nice. Yeah. I don't see why not for that one, for sure.
Next question is, should players be allowed to uncap the difficulty of Chambers of Xeric to the highest difficulty? So again, this is one of those things that I don't fully understand how it works, but if you're under 114, I guess you're in, all the monsters get kind of scaled down to that. They get scaled to a lower, I don't know, difficulty, if you want to say, if you're not at 115 combat or higher.
I'm not fully sure either. I've never really looked into it. All I know is that, when you're 115 is when you get the maximum amount of points. So, this is another why not. It lets people that are pures, for example, do solo raids. with more points. So
this would give you the option to maybe talk to someone and uncap the difficulty of it. Similarly, how you can do it to Slayer monsters. If you're like level 3, you could talk to whatever Slayer monster and say, hey, don't take my combat level don't factor in my combat level when you give me a Slayer task. Just give me whatever Slayer task.
Yeah, the Slayer masters. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a similar idea. So yeah, the first one has nothing to do with your combat level. I know you mentioned, Dills, you said 114. The first one's just to do with rounding on how much damage you deal.
Right.
And they're going to be rounding appropriately now instead of rounding like down all the time. So you'll just get more points if you deal more damage. It won't be a huge change, I don't think. Like for every time you throw the blowpipe, especially with the rate that it fires, I think it'll add up over time. So yeah, both seem like a why not to me.
And maybe this one follows in suit. So the next question has to do with the storage system for Chambers of Xeric. Right now, you have to build a chest, and I think there's 4 tiers of chests.
There are 4. There's a small 30, 60, 90, and then essentially unlimited.
Okay, cool. So yeah, they have the 4 chests there, but you have to build them. There's nothing there until you build something, but they're proposing to add a default chest, which will allow people to store 25 items, which will be the lowest tier.
Yeah, this is great. No more, for those of you who haven't raided, you have to kill scavenger beasts and get 2 planks to make a chest. You need to have a hammer in your inventory, and it works with the Dragon Warhammer. So you end up having to like drop stuff, or you make a chest right at the very end of the raid, which is typically how a standard raid would go down. But something like a challenge mode, you need to like basically make a chest in the 3rd room because you bring in so much gear, you need to be able to store it and make brews and take those out. So this is a nice change. Quality of life for Chambers of Xeric, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems nice. I don't know how this would affect like negatively or the meta, but
I think challenge modes, you're just not gonna have to make a bank, as far as I know. You can just dump everything right away. So I mean, it saves a little bit of time, but it's mostly just quality of life. And then when you're solo raiding, you don't have to make a bank. It's just nice. So when you're doing things like, I don't know, if say Ice Demon's the first room, you can just dump everything into the chest instead of scavving, dropping 2 potions, going back to get the potions after you've made the bank, then dumping your things and putting your kindling in. I don't know. It's going to be good. So.
Yeah, it was kind of pain before to drop all your potions, and then if the Ice Demon starts attacking before you have a chance to pick up your potions, now you're just like kind of having to fucking click on a pile of potions and get all the shit that you need. At least now you'll have I guess it's the same thing, but you'll have a bank to be able to navigate through. And
this isn't like one of those things like Easyscape. This is just like making the game less annoying for this one specific thing.
Yeah, because it's not going to be much different than dropping your stuff.
It's not going to affect PBs or anything because people that are going for personal best don't even bank. They just know prep. So I just think this is a good one to vote yes to.
All right, so the next question. As you bring in more players into the raid starts to scale up, which means you can get more points. And the more points you have, the higher chance of getting a unique item. And you can get multiple unique items, but it's capped at 3. Now they're asking, would you like to raise the cap of rare items to 6? This way, if you're massing with 50 people, you might get 6 items instead of just 3. I don't think many people do that.
100-man mass cox? Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Is it really? 100 people?
Yeah, the people do 100-man raids because that's the cap.
Oh, wow.
So mass chambers is definitely, there's a thing in the We Do Raids Discord about it. Magpies probably know more. They have one person who's calling and there's 98 people running the head or something. I'm not sure. Not everyone is allowed to come into the room. You need to get a certain KC in the thing first.
Oh, some people just sit outside?
Yeah, some people will fish and bring a rock cake and eat and to get points. They sometimes spend ages in the thieving room. But yeah, I think this is cool for those people that are into mass chambers.
That seems good. This is something that I'm definitely interested to hear Magpie's opinion on as well, since he does do a lot of learners and all that sort of stuff with We Do Raids. To me, that seems fair. To raise it to 6, but who knows? Maybe that is introducing a lot more uniques into the game. I honestly don't know.
I don't think so. I just imagine most of them just come from like regular raids.
Yeah, those are gonna be the most popular.
And it takes so long to get. The thing is, it takes so long to finish one of these long ass raids. Like, it takes up to like 6 hours or more.
Really?
Sometimes. I actually don't really know, but I know if you do like a solo like 1+30, it takes like 5-6 hours.
Oh my god!
Like, so they're not like efficient by any means, right? Because you can run like 25-minute 3+2s, and that's like best points per hour. So it's not even that good. So I'd say yes for the fun factor. That definitely this is a cool one.
I love that. That sounds like so much fun. We should try to set something up in the Discord.
We've done it before.
Yeah, I've seen there's like 15, 20 people.
We've done like a 20-person one before with a bunch of scales, and it adds an extra face to Ulm. But the real problem is if people aren't coordinated during Ulm, people die and you start losing all the team's points. So we ended up with like 100k points, which is the same as like a 3+1.
Yeah.
Which is we did like a 20-man. So we should have been getting like few 100,000 points, like 400k.
Oh man.
But because people kept dying, we didn't. So I think having that many people come along is great, but then we should have special roles for people who aren't comfortable at Ulm, and then just have like 5 or 6 people do the final fight.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then we'd get huge points and might be able to snipe a couple items, which would be super fun.
Get 6 T-bows? Oh shit.
Yeah, no, that'd be the business right there.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. So next question. They're asking, so there's herb patches where you can create, because you have to create all your own food for the most part. You have to create your food, make your own potions and all that stuff. And they have Xeric's aids, which are basically Saradomin brews. And that's what you're going to use when you fight Ulm. So you have to plant your own herbs. And this question is asking, should the herb patches scale with the group size? So they will live longer. The more you'll be able to harvest more herbs per patch, the bigger your group is. Which
this I'm not big into this is definitely going to probably speed up the speeds of these big raids, because it would make sense that would definitely help them, right? Because then you're not only getting like 60 herbs per patch. Even if you have 99 farming, you're going to be getting lots more. I'd imagine like if you're in one of these big chambers, if I was running them, I would only let people with really like close to 99 farming be on the patches, so that you could get the max herbs, because it's a time sink, because you only have access to 2 spots to plant the Buchu seeds.
Yeah, true.
So, I don't know. Yeah, sure. Seems fine. But once again,
seems fine to me as well. But again, I'm ignorant when it comes down to like run times, when you're looking at like kind of the high end community who's really focused in on how efficient, the people who are buying raid rooms. They would probably know.
I think for them it's not a problem. This is more affecting like those huge raids, like 50+ people, and in those cases I think it's probably good, because I'm not sure how invested those people are into times, like doing PBs. I think they're just going for like huge points.
Yeah,
basically.
And probably the fun of it too. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So okay, yeah, make it a little bit easier for them, I guess. Next question: should we add a way to cure poison using herbs in the chambers of Xeric? Because the shaman room, you can get poisoned, and this like was so confusing to me that you can't make anti-poisons within the raid. You actually have to bring your own. That never made sense to me. So now they're asking, do you want the option to be able to make your own anti-poisons in the raid? It's
yeah, I don't know. Like usually your friends, like unless you're all bringing 1 doses, your friends will have a dose for you. So it's not like a huge deal. But if you're an Iron Man, it sucks. I've died a few times because the poison from shamans ticks 12s and it lasts 20 minutes. So there's no way to get rid of it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
It's insane.
Okay. So, I mean, to me, this makes sense. This should have been an option from the get-go, from when Raids was released. But
yeah, I agree.
Anyways.
But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, watch it get voted no.
It might, because this is one of the things like where people will be like, well, it sucks to suck. So
I died a few times. Now you have to die a few times.
Yeah, I'm really surprised it wasn't there in the first place. Like, if there's poison in the raid, you probably should be able to fix it. But
yeah, because like I mean, most people are going to watch some guides, or they're going to talk to somebody else who's run it before, and they're going to say, yeah, bring your own antidote. But I have to believe there's probably like a small group of friends somewhere that doesn't look at the wiki that much, and they're like, let's try this raid. Let's go in blind and learn it ourselves. It's got to happen at least once, right? So
Exactly, yeah.
Anyways, but similar to that question, there's a room called the Guardians, which you can only damage with your pickaxe. So they're asking, should we add an iron pickaxe spawn in that room? Because same idea, I guess, if you go into the raid not knowing you need a pickaxe, if your whole group, if you're all blind going in there, you're just screwed. You can't finish that room, right?
Exactly, yeah. I'm okay with this one because people that forget their pickaxes are not going to get any points really anyways.
Yeah.
And it just stops them from having to go back and scav.
Next question. During the Ohm fight, he spits out these lines of fire, which can trap a player. And if you don't escape from the fire, you take a lot of damage. So right now you can use a water spell, or you can use humidify from the lunar spell book. But now they're asking, should you have the option to cast an ice spell from the ancient spell book to get out? Is this like a controversial or
Like, yes and no, because now the person who... So usually you have one person on humidify and they fill all the vials instead of putting them in the geyser. So it makes that quicker.
Yep.
But now you can have someone on ancients. So when you're doing mutadial, you'll always have someone to freeze mutadial. And then they can just be your water person too. So you'll have like extra people on Venge. I'm not sure. I mean, I think I'm probably overall okay with it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, it might add an extra Avenger, but then the time saved from bringing Humidify is still a thing.
I like the idea. I always wished, and so I'll always be happy if they try to work in this direction, but I always wish that there was, you need someone on Lunars, you need someone on Standards, you need someone on Ancients, and they all have their own little role within the raid itself. So I would love for if you have, let's say, a group of 4 people, one person's on Humidify, one person has Venge. You have 2 people on Lunars, and it's like...
That's usually how it works too, right? Like, you have Humidify, Venge, and sometimes Freezes.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Sometimes you have people on normal spellbook as well to bring Fire Surge for Ice Demon.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I like... Again, I'm coming from different, other MMORPGs. I'm not saying I'm coming from it. This is RuneScape's the first MMORPG I ever played, but I've played a bunch of other ones as well. And I always liked how, in a lot of them, you'd have a party doing this group content. You'd have designated roles. Okay, you're the tank, you're the healer, you're the DPS, you're the support, like you're doing like crowd control and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like Barbarian Assault.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully we can get something a little bit better than that. No, but one thing that I love about Theater of Blood is that people do get these roles. Okay, you're the one who's going to be freezing the Nilos in the first room, or the other Nilo room. Like, you're on range, you're on melee, you're on magic. I like when there's designated roles and everyone has to kind of work together doing their own role.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with this change. Like, I don't want to be... I don't like when people they don't like change just because they like the game to stay pure, especially when it's quite a small thing.
Yeah.
This isn't like God forbid the arc light change passed to Cerberus, which was like a massive change to the meta, whereas this is relatively minor.
Yep.
So this is not something that needs to be debated realistically.
Yeah, although that being said, I am interested if anyone out there is part of the community that is like looking at some of these changes and they're just like, how are people okay with this? I would love to hear your opinion, because I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to the, I guess the 1%ers when it comes to rating, like the top of the top.
Yeah, me too. I feel like there's better places to plant your flag if you want an argument.
Yeah, that's fair. So the next question has to do with Vasa. Was it Vasa Mysterio? Is that how you pronounce it? Perfect. So Vasa's room on challenge mode. There are these crystals that Vasa will walk to that will heal it, and you have to destroy the crystals. And they're asking, should we remove 50% of the additional stats in health and defense of the crystals in the Vasa room for challenge mode?
Oh boy. So This is a big one.
It's going to raise some hell, isn't
I'd
it?
imagine most people that are listening haven't done challenge modes, so
Nope.
I'll explain the Vasa room a little bit. I don't have a ton of challenge modes. I've done 15 of them, most of them duos as well, which are not like particularly efficient, but I have a good sense of what the Vasa room's like, and it is awful. Pure RNG. So
Really?
basically what Vasa does is she will teleport you or whatever, it will teleport you to the middle, and then you can start damaging it, and it makes its way to a crystal, and it heals while it's attached to the crystal. Okay, so you have to put your stab gear on and start stabbing the crystal until it dies, and then Vasa will get off and walk to the middle of the room, then choose another one of the 4 crystals to walk to. It's pretty straightforward. It's like a tag in between. Try not to let Vasa heal too much. But the crystals, sometimes they're just, maybe it's just the scales that I'm doing them in. It can be such a brutal room with a lot of time wasted. Like I've done duo like 8-9 minute Vasas before.
Okay.
Ridiculous. So it's tricky. So I'm personally would vote yes to this one just because it makes the room less annoying. But I'm not sure because this is something that could affect like people doing speed runs for the content. But I think overall to just get into it, I'm okay with this one.
Yeah, especially if it feels like you're relying. This is right here. A lot of players feel frustrated when attacking the crystals. If it feels like very RNG heavy,
it's super RNG heavy.
Yeah, that can be frustrating. That you're just like, nope, you're unlucky. You may as well restart the whole raid.
Yeah, like getting to the end of like, imagine you're on a speed run, you get to the end of it, and then you fail. Like this is what I would say to those people that are upset about like, oh, well, it's going to change speed run times. Like I would rather live in a world where I can consistently not get punished at the end of the runs based on RNG, and my skill be the factor that sets a good time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
so
I think that's what should be the biggest factor of how well you do. It's your skill level, not how hard the game decides you hit.
Yeah, not getting lucky and getting like a 2-minute Vasa, for example, and then having a good run overall. I would definitely say yes to this one personally.
And RNG is always going to be a factor, but it can definitely be frustrating if it's like super, I guess, volatile, where it's like you can get crazy unlucky. But so similar to that question, this is moving on to the Mutadile room in challenge mode, and it's saying right now it feels like the large Mutadile can hit extremely hard when it's submerged in the water. And this again relies heavily on RNG. So they're asking if they should scale down its max damage, but also scale up the lowest damage it could do to make it more consistent. So the example they say is, let's say the Mutadile can hit from 0 to 100. They want to tweak it so it can hit between 20 and 80 instead to make it a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I'm okay with this one too. So the sequence of rooms at the end of challenge modes is just insane. So you have Vasa, which could take an insane amount of time if you get unlucky on crystals. And then there's Mystics, which is whatever. It's a pretty simple room. But then there's Mutadile. My God, that room, you can just get smacked. Just chug like 8 brews in it, you know? Like you get the baby and the mom hitting you just for massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
I don't know. If it's going to make it more consistent, then I think I'm cool with it.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Next question is just Chambers of Xeric overall. Has to do with the Vanguard room. If you don't know, the Vanguard, there's 3 of these weird little slug monsters. Each one's going to attack you with range, melee, or magic, and you must attack it. I think it's the opposite, kind of like DK's, right?
Yep.
Okay, so so if it's range, you're going to attack with melee. You get the point. And then after, I guess, some time, they move around the room, and I guess they become invulnerable while they're moving. So they're asking, should you be able to still continue to damage them while they're moving?
I don't see like why you would need to do that. I think I'm okay with them just being able to damage while they're up.
Yeah, okay.
Like this isn't like an RNG thing like Vanguard's is.
Yeah,
this isn't like Vasa where you're getting punished by not being able to damage them. This would just straight up speed up the room for not really any reason in my opinion. So I don't see why we would need to make this change.
It seems like it's kind of like with Sire, where there's a little bit of downtime, where they pivot around the room, even though it's very quickly. I've done it a few times, and I never really was like, holy shit, why can't these guys move quicker? But what I can see is that a player who is good and is able to move while also attacking, you'll be rewarded by finishing the room quicker. But also, that could be squirrely. Again, I'm ignorant when it comes to like speed running.
Yeah, like I'm not going to argue against it, but I'm just going to say this one, unlike the others, are like really nice quality of life. It's like, yeah, RNG. This isn't like an RNG one for challenge modes. This is just sort of I'm not really sure where this change came from, because that room isn't particularly annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a rather fun room once you get used to it, because you're doing big switches and trying to keep them all around the same health. They made the change a while ago where, because you have to kill them like at the same time, the threshold used to be so low that if you got a huge hit with like the twisted bow or a spec from claws, like you could drop it below the threshold really quick, and then they reset to full health. They changed it from like 30% to 40%, and it's way better now.
Yeah, there's a point in time where everyone skipped this room, and then I guess I took a break from raiding.
I think people still average raiders tend to skip it. This is not like a fast room, so this might make it more. But this is for challenge modes only, right? That you can hit them in between.
No, this one it doesn't specify, so I have to assume it's for any.
Okay.
But
then that probably makes it a bit better, because maybe this room will be done by more people if that's the case, because you can kill them a little quicker. Because Vanguards is kind of slow. That's probably the reason people don't like it very often.
Okay, that's fair. It's fun. I find it's a room that I was always avoiding because people just said avoid it. So I was like, okay. But then I did learn it, I guess more recently in the past year, and I was like, oh, this room is actually a ton of fun. I really enjoy it now.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, but you know what I mean with the healing? It can be one of those rooms where you can just get punished by someone who doesn't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I guess that's the tricky part.
Shamans or something, like, yeah, if someone doesn't know what they're doing, they're just gonna die, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But this room is like, it could reset it for the whole team. So,
yeah,
I would be okay with it, I guess. Like I said, I could go either way with this one.
Sam, I'm too ignorant to get, I guess, weigh on it, but yeah, there's just definitely people out there who would know best. And for the final question in regards to Chambers of Xeric, should players be allowed to save their special attack when entering and exiting the Chambers of Xeric? They say right now it can be kind of annoying to have to wait for your special attack to regenerate. I guess I know what I've heard with challenge mode is I believe Tecton is the first room. And it is. Okay. And again, it relies a little bit on RNG because you're kind of dependent on if you hit with your Dragon Warhammer or not. And
you want to hit at least one or two in a bigger team for sure. So people just reset. If not, it would be nice if it reset for quality of life. Yeah,
I thought you know what? I didn't even realize it did, because your health and your prayer and your run energy all resets. So I guess it makes sense for your special attack energy too as well.
And I know they don't want pures. This is the thing about special attack regenning and why like Ferox Enclave doesn't do it, is because they don't want people like spamming the teleports, hitting the pool, and then going back out into the field and like specking and stuff like that. But the teleport is far enough away, and you could just do that in your player own house anyways. So I'm okay with it being a yes for this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I was like trying to think, what could the issue be? Do people farm Tecton for the Onyx it drops? Is that even a realistic thing to do?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It'd be easier to do Zulrah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So no, realistically, it's just so that maybe people are going to get more to be more willing to like reset now and not take like a sketchy, maybe one, like a one hammer hit on Tecton. Maybe they'll wait, because now you leave the raid, you have to tell us your house, because you're probably on Lunars, and it's annoying.
Yeah, you got to run to the bank, put in some items, pull out a tab. Yeah, that seems kind of frustrating. They're also asking the same question for Theater of Blood. Should your special attack basically be reset? I don't know why they say should players be allowed to save their special attack when entering and exiting Theater of Blood.
Yeah, I'm not sure what save means in this case, so I'm a little confused there.
Yeah, it should just be reset, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what they mean by save, and the answer should probably be yes to both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be yes.
Okay, so the next question, Theater of Blood time. So the first question, should we reduce the variance in locations for spawns of maidens in the Theater of Blood? And should we also reward players for successfully dodging the blood by only spawning a maximum of 1 blood spawn?
Absolutely, yes. If you don't get hit by bloods, you shouldn't be punished hard, because sometimes you just get. So what Maiden does is she throws out these blood splatters, and if you get hit by them, they'll reduce your stats, chunk out your prayer, deal damage to you, and for every tick you stand on, they heal Maiden. And then she'll spawn these bloods that fly around the room, leaving trails of blood that do essentially the same thing. And it can get super annoying because sometimes you're playing perfectly and you just dodge everything, but then she spawns like 3 blood spawns, and you're like, well, shit, now I have to like really watch my step.
Okay.
So yeah, if you do the mechanics properly, you should be punished less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not sure there's much more to add to that one.
Next question has to do with the Inferno. And they're asking, should Inferno bats stop draining player stats when prayed against correctly so that prayer protections work as intended? They will still be able to drain run energy. So I guess I've never done the Inferno, but
neither have I.
Yeah, so this is gonna be, maybe we can just brush over this one real quickly. But I guess this bat can drain your stats even when you're praying against them. But originally, I think they planned for that not to be the case. But then they're like, oh well, this is just how the fight works now.
Well, I mean, judging just from the outside looking in, if you're doing the correct thing, you should be not punished for it. Just to make it harder. Like, if you're praying correctly, then yes, they probably shouldn't keep reducing your stats. I don't know if that's how the bats work in the regular fight caves as well. If you're praying melee, do they drain you?
I think they only drain prayer, but yeah, but
these guys would. Yeah, I don't know. I like, if you're doing the intended mechanic, then you shouldn't be punished. Like, that seems like fair gameplay to me, and I'm all about fair gameplay.
I agree. Next question. Bouncing back to Theater Blood, should regular Niloka damage count towards MVP participation in the Maiden and Verzik rooms in order to better reward team play? This will not count in the Niloka's room itself. So I guess there's these ads that spawn these additional mobs that you have to kill. And I guess the people who are on ad duty, the ones who are clearing these ads,
they're called freezers. Yeah.
Freezers, yeah. They're I guess you don't get rewarded for the damage you actually do to those monsters, which I guess seems odd.
I can give a quick rundown for those of you listening who've never done Maiden. It's like, basically Maiden stands there, and every threshold, so 70, 60, and 30, she spawns these crabs, these red Nilos, and they walk towards her. And if they get to her, they'll heal her for whatever their health is, and then they'll make her deal more damage too. So what you want to do is, basically there's 2 roles that freeze them in very specific locations. The first couple freezes are kind of solo by themselves, and the extra 2 players who aren't on freezing duty will kill the stragglers who have been frozen on the outside. And then the freezers will coordinate so they get a huge pile of these crabs right in the middle. And then one of the freezers, usually the person who's in the south, will barrage that pile until it's dead. But what ends up happening is that person is like basically ice barraging or blood barraging the pile the entire time. And then by the time they're finished killing the crabs, the next round of crabs has spawned. So what they're asking is, should that person, or everyone, get points for going for teamwork? Because what you do is you get the most points for dealing the most damage to the boss. You get some MVP points, and then you collect them over the rooms, and that person will have a slightly better chance at getting the purple in the end. So they're saying, should you be rewarded for teamwork here? Your gut would say, I feel like anyone would say, yeah, you should be rewarded for teamwork. And that is, I absolutely agree with you, but it depends on the numbers for this one for me. Like, how many extra points do you get for hitting the Nilos?
Yeah, true. I guess because some people would benefit.
I remember 40 mentioning, like, the numbers may be so that the person who's dealing the damage to Maiden might just bring chins and start chucking them at the Nilos instead.
True.
So I feel like it works fine as is, but it's probably fairly toxic when you're going with like all solo players and you're all like, free-for-alling for the purple.
Yeah, nobody wants to be put on the...
Exactly.
It's like when you go to bandos and somebody's like, who wants to tank? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do the least amount of damage.
And the worst part about that is not so much that you don't get the drop, because you get split out either way, but you don't have a chance at the pet, which is what of late game players want.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part of Theater of Blood, is you get a chance at the pet for just completing the raid.
Nice, yeah.
I think that's fantastic, because that promotes teamwork, and not like I'm going to get the most points and therefore I'm going to get a roll at the pets. Like, no, man, everyone gets a roll at the pet just for being a good teammate and getting to the end. And then, sure, if you did really well in the raid, you have a slightly better chance at getting the purple. So I'm not sure how I feel about this one, because it depends on the numbers for me.
Yeah, I'm too ignorant to know as well. Next question, when we talked about how the Corrupted Gauntlet might be getting, or I should say just the Gauntlet in general, might be getting a teleport out using a crystal. Theater of Blood currently already has one of those. They did anticipate that one for Hardcore Iron Man to get themselves out of a tricky spot. The problem is when Hardcore Iron Man disconnect, well, the teleport isn't really going to help them. So they're asking, should there be the option for a team member to, I guess, use another crystal on the Hardcore Iron Man to cause them to teleport out if they disconnect? This would be an opt-in option, and this is to avoid griefing, which would be annoying if people are kicking you out just because they have the teleport.
What do you think?
I mean, it makes sense, because like that's what sucks about Hardcore Iron Man, is that a lot of Hardcore Iron Men are gonna die from disconnecting. We had Chick, that happened to Chick recently, who has in our CC, and it's like, to me, that seems like the most unsatisfying way to lose your Hardcore Iron Man status. Like you know.
Yeah, they all want to go down playing the game properly and making mistakes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say yes. Like, why not, right? Do you really want to spend all that time getting to Theater of Blood on a really sick account and then lose to a DC?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that feels so bad. And that's not a reflection of your skill. That's a reflection of your internet connection.
Yep, that's right. So that's that ain't on you.
Especially for those playing on like a slightly sketchier connection, this would make doing TOB, more valid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that opt-in idea for the no griefing for sure. It's like, oh, Verzik's about to die. See ya.
Everyone tries to teleport each other.
Kick him out. Yeah, no, for sure. No, I like this. Absolutely.
Oh boy. And two more questions in regards to the Theater of Blood. The first one is, should the party leader be able to reorder their party in the party board menu in the lobby?
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Please vote yes to this one. It's so annoying to have to remake your party, because the rooms will aggro based on the party order, so there's like a specific meta.
Oh, interesting.
So you have specific roles in specific places. So yes, because when you come out of the raid, the first person to leave will become the new party member instead of staying the same as last time. So yeah, this would be a very nice quality of life change.
Perfect. And then the next question is, should you be able to filter the party board in the lobby to allow you to find your friends or clanmates easier? Sure.
Yeah, this is also a yes, because what ends up happening, Dills, is because Theater of Blood is such a content that requires such like good ping and specifically good server connection, everyone tends to raid on the same worlds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So currently the hot world is 474, which is the high risk world, because there seems to be not very much lag, like server lag on it. So you won't randomly die to server lag.
Nice.
So then when you go to the board to apply to your party, there's just like a massive amount of, names and groups on there.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's not CC based like Chambers of Xeric is.
Theater of Blood is the way Chambers of Xeric should be, I find, but we'll probably get there maybe.
For a lot of content it is, yeah, definitely.
But moving on from the raid questions, we're going back to the early days of free to play. We're going to talk about the Skull Scepter. They're asking, should the Skull Scepter be able to autocast Crumble Undead in both free to play and pay to play? I mean, to me that seems good, because the Skull Scepter is, for how kind of hard it is to get, it sucks. It's such a shitty item.
I wish there was a way to make it infinite teleports.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that. I think there's a way to charge it, but still, you have to go. It's annoying. Playing on my free-to-play PvP account, I was like, oh, should I grind out this Skull Scepter at some point? And then I realized, no, there's no point.
Those 5 charges. Like, even if it was bring like 100 pieces of any of the heads, so that it incentivized you, because then it's at least a grind, and it's you can't just buy it. So, I mean, like, come on. It sucks right now.
Yeah, it's silly. Yeah, it's untraded. Yeah, it's dumb. So anyways, I'm okay with that one. Next question, should we allow players to disable the initial message box warning when entering a Barrows tunnel? Because right now you have to push enter to get through one chat box, and then you can click yes. So they just want to remove the 2 menu boxes down to 1, or chat boxes, I should say, which seems fine to me, I guess.
Absolutely. Less chat boxes, more fun.
Next question is, for Sarachnis, should they add a orange and blue transmog to the pet, which you would get through an egg sac when you're killing the boss? Transmogs seem okay to me. The blue kind of looks weird. I don't get it, but I mean, I don't know. Fine, I guess.
2021 is the year of the transmog.
Seems that way. Yeah, blue. I'm looking at, they have the blue and they have the orange. Orange fits because the original one is red. The blue one looks a little bit more random, but I mean, I guess whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the pet anyways.
No, really?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not nearly as good as Venonattus.
True. Did you know the Sarachnis, the middle, like the body is a chimchampa? Not chimchampa. A chompy bird?
Yep.
It's crazy.
You'll never unsee it.
Yeah, they're creative. Okay, next question. Moving to the Shades of Morton. They added the Zealot robes, which you can unlock, and it allowed you to like save bones when you use them, or a percentage to save the bones when you use them. They're asking, should the robes provide a prayer bonus, which is slightly higher than the monk's robes by +1 on each piece? This would also mean, since there's 4 pieces, there's also boots and a hat. Those would get 1 prayer.
Yeah.
Seems good to me. Honestly, I'm surprised that I would be okay if they made it on par with some of the best prayer equipment. Because
you have to work for it, right? And you can't just buy it.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I was doing it. I did the most the hardest, the highest tier of shades, and it's still a bit of a grind.
I'd be even okay with it being like best in slot.
It would be fitting. I find it's, or at least on tier or on par with the best in slot.
Like you can go and get, like, I think Proselyte's best in slot, and it kind of looks heinous if you're doing like non PvP stuff, and it's not really good used by pures because you need 20 defense.
Yeah.
So Monk's robes, I mean Monk's robes you can literally just get off the ground.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I don't see why not. It should match like Proselyte, but this isn't even that. It's just asking to slightly buff it.
Yeah, above Monk's robes.
And
so.
you said like it's quite a grind to get them, right?
Yeah, and like the current best in slot for prayer, right? You get the miter for your hat. Looks kind of dumb. And I guess it's tricky for like an Iron Man because you kind of have to rely on getting it from a clue scroll, even though they're not super rare from clue scrolls, but still very RNG heavy. But I don't know. I would love to be able to rock the Zealot robes over wearing a miter when I'm doing content that requires me to use prayer. Especially
that it's something that has no requirements, but it has no stats realistically. It's just prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, give us more fashion options for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess one step at a time. So next question has to do with the Dagannoth bones. If you complete the Fremennik Elite Diaries, you can get Dagannoth bones noted when you kill the Dagannoth Kings. They're asking if you want to be able to turn those off, I suppose, to use your Dragon Bone necklace to get the perk from it. This way you can extend your trips a bit. I mean, sure. Yeah,
it's fine. Whatever. That's one of the reasons people go there, so I don't know why you'd want to turn it off. But
yeah, exactly. But have the option, sure, why not? And they're asking, should the Bone Crusher, which crushes bones automatically, should they be able to crush the bones that are dropped by the NPCs that I'm about to mention? Chaos Elemental, Insatiable Bloodveld, Regular Bloodveld, Jogers, and Jungle Horrors.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's like so many of these questions. Like, I mean, I guess they have to ask it, but yeah, sure, why not?
You're true. Most of the questions is polar, like, yeah, like, sure.
Mm-hmm. They're asking to go alongside the Bone Crusher, should they add an item called the Ash Sanctifier? This would allow you to cleanse demonic ash in a similar way that Bone Crushers work with bones, and you'd be awarded half the usual prayer XP for each ash sanctified.
So it's saying basically you're going to get prayer back for ashes? No, not prayer back. Sorry, that's only in the catacombs. So it'll work on stuff like hellhounds in the catacombs, I think. Usually they drop ash. But isn't that what the ectoplasmer does? Sorry, I don't actually have the item.
I think the ectoplasmer is for killing ghosts that don't drop anything.
Okay, so this is things that drop ashes, which is probably a little bit more significant than.
Yeah, I always thought it was strange you couldn't like spread ash to gain prayer experience the same way you bury bones. But whatever.
Sure, let's go for it.
Nice, we're doing it.
Make ash great again, I guess. I mean, it never was great, so yeah, no, it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah,
why not?
Good to me.
It gives those kind of monsters some utility.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be huge XP anyways. Was it like 4 per ash?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's really not much if that's what it is. If it's the same as regular bones, like yeah, it's not really relevant. You rarely bring your bone crusher places anyways, unless you're going for the prayer.
That is fair. Next question about this has to do with the Tome of Water. Should this buff players' weakened spells effectiveness by 50% when equipped? Which will be anything from 2% to an extra 5% attack strength or defense reduction depending on what spell you use. I don't know how often this is used. If I were to guess, I would say almost never. So it'd be kind of
so minimal.
Yeah, it'd be cool to actually bring this into the game.
Yeah, like this buff is really minimal. The realistic, because it didn't pass the poll where the Tome of Water got the damage bonus specifically on things like Ice Barrage, because people like didn't want to see that shit in PvP.
Sure.
And that's why it didn't pass. It would have been, made Bandos solo even greater with the big freezes. I don't know. The Tome of Water just sucks.
Yeah, it's
like, no offense, it's just terrible. Unless it's gonna ever boost damage, I don't think it's gonna be relevant. Especially since water spells are like actively worse than fire spells, just for raw damage.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. It would be nice to be able to see these weakened spells and having actual debuff spells that could have its place somewhere, but I guess we're not quite there yet. Next has to do with shooting stars, and they're asking, should we increase the shooting star experience rates? And it seems to be a fair, significant boost depending on what tier. Like tier 9 has almost double the experience. But so I'll mention this real quick. I did a bit of shooting stars this week, and nobody does it anymore. The stars I go to will have maybe 1 or 2 people that do it, and
yep, dead content.
But it's so AFK. Like it takes like an hour to mine it, and you will auto log from 5 minutes of like no interactions when you're mining it if you're not doing anything. And what I think it's cool content, and it's a shame because now that nobody else does it, it's so easy to get Stardust. Like you'll get like 1,000 per star.
Easily, yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? We did some with the clan, and there was just a bunch of us, and we were there for like 45 minutes, and we just straight up logged out. At one point, he's like, "Whoops, AFKing too hard," right? Like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So,
do you feel like the Stardust should have more things that you could buy with it?
Oh man, yeah, I do, because I think the shooting star is cool. The content looks really cool, and I hope they do the experience rate, so they're increasing the experience by roughly 20%. But I would love for other rewards that are actually useful to get, like the gem box, the gem bag. It's kind of pointless for especially like main accounts and stuff. But I would love for this to actually be like an AFK way to train mining, even though it's like 20k experience an hour. If even that, it'll probably be less because it'll just probably be less.
It should be more. You're right. It should be like on par with Motherlode Mine, if not better, because you're actively doing some work for it and you're not really getting any reward.
Yeah, and it would be so cool to like have this as the AFK way to train it, where like you have to spend, it can take like 15-20 minutes to find the stars sometimes, depending on where it lands, and you also have to wait for it, so you have to track where they are in each world. It'd be very cool to like have this an actual feasible way to train.
Yeah, I gotta say the ring is really good. You should definitely pick up the ring if you don't have one. You're planning to do any mining. The +4 invisible boost is really nice, and it's maybe takes you 2 hours to get at most. And like Dill said, you might click 8 times in those 2 hours.
Oh, it's so AFK. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. In Motherlode Mine, people complain it's not really AFK. So this would be, I'd be all for this. And it takes some...
Yeah, maybe slightly worse rates than Motherlode Mine.
Totally.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Absolutely.
So next has to do with the spell books. They're asking, should they add these padlocks that are on spells that you are unable to use yet, whether you don't, like, if you don't meet the requirements, you know, like, or like the Luna spellbook where you have to complete a quest to unlock more of it. So they'll have a few padlocks that will be on top of the spell to show that, hey, yeah, you don't have the requirements to even use this spell yet.
I don't see what's wrong with it right now.
I guess it's for like if you're on mobile or like a new player who doesn't know if hey, do I have the levels for it or do I just not have the runes for it? I guess it's a bit of a nitpick because it takes what, a second to click it and see what you're missing.
Kidding. I feel like I figured that out when I was 8 years old. I can figure it out when you're older.
Yeah.
Finding the game could go either way with this one for sure. Another one of those like take it or leave it kind of minimum changes, right?
Yeah, no, if I could blow this up to make it seem like a bigger deal, the last thing I would want is to have these padlocks on it and have like a blue padlock and someone being like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Do I need to go get a blue key or something? Like, if it's not clear that, no, you just don't have the quest yet to use this, it might just be more confusing than it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's pretty clear as is,
And finally, the final question. Holy shit, there was a lot of them. 46 questions. It's asking, so they had a competition where you could design a cosmetic hat, and they said it has to be the color of a banana, and everyone took that to mean that it needs to look like has some sort of banana element to it. So they have this hat that looks like a banana, and they're asking, should you be able to redeem this reward from Diango? I've seen people say it looks all right, but why not throw it into a clue? As a clue reward? Why make it so you just have to go to Diango? That's not very fun.
No, I agree with you.
For a competition like this, yeah.
Yeah, I saw on Reddit someone mentioned like make us kill monkeys for it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'd be all for that.
Yeah, just something or like, something small. But not just visit Diango. That's not the old school way. Make us do a fetch quest for it or kill something for it at least.
Got to make us work for it. Where's the grinding at?
Plus, yeah, it doesn't really organically introduce it into the game if you're just like, oh, hey, go to this guy and he'll give you this free thing. That seems a little bit like cheap MMO to me. And that's not what we're about at Old School. We're about grinding for hundreds and thousands of hours.
Yeah, and then just go talk to one guy to get something. Yeah, of course. And people like having these little goals to have to work towards. If they want the banana hat, boom, go kill some monkeys. Go do some, I don't know, easy clue scrolls, whatever it is.
Yeah, any of those options are great.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it. All right, so there's a whole whack of stuff we went through, and I know some of you are thinking, there's still one more dev blog to cover, and it has to do with Theater of Blood. It's kind of controversial. Some people are for it, some people are against it, but as you can see, this podcast has been going on pretty long, and we have to get our resident, what's he at, like 12 bill? His bank is at like 12 bill now.
Oh, it's climbing. I think we're almost breaking triple digits. 100 bill.
It's climbing. He is the professor of raids, Mr. Magpies himself, and we're gonna hold that section of Theater of Blood conversation for the next episode when he can join us. We'll get his take on it.
We could get a full episode out of that one, absolutely.
Exactly. And otherwise, we're gonna talk a long time, and we're just gonna have to rehash this on the next episode because he's going to have some points that we definitely are going to miss. But anyways, I just want to throw that in there, but let's go take a break, and then we'll be back with the rest of the show. All right, if you made it this far, then of course we need to take a little bit of a break, walk over to the Grand Exchange, and see what kind of fun stuff is going on over there. And I tell you, there's always fun stuff going on. Apparently, whether it's people looking to double your money, actually that doesn't really happen anymore, does it? If you don't know, doubling money used to be like the biggest scam. It sounds crazy, but people would sit out there being like, I'll double your money. People would give them money, and then they wouldn't get it doubled. It was insane. Anyway, that doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know why I'm talking about it because this Grand Exchange is nothing like that. So let's get right into it. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. We have a few different tiers going there, and we got some rewards, some content we're giving away to our Patreon supporters. I do a weekly, I try to do, it's a sort of weekly live stream commentary. We sit down and we watch, it's not me live streaming and you get to listen to it, that would suck. It's the J-Mods do a live stream, and we sit down and we listen to it together. I mean, I sat down this week to record one, and I got 10 minutes. I was recording it, and there was 10 minutes left in it, and I don't know what happened. There was a Windows update, and boom, my computer crashed. I was so mad. I lost all of it. I was pissed. But that's, you know what? It's still going to come out. It's just, I get to watch it again. So anyways, yeah, you can go to patreon.com if you like that sort of stuff. And I'm always trying to think of new things to bring to the Patreoners. We got early access to content. Sometimes when I do the OSRS rambles, they'll get it a few days early before it goes to the live stream, to the public feed. The last thing I want to do is gate good content. I say good content because the live streams, they're fun to do. I really don't do too much editing. It's just a little thank you, and maybe it's an easier way for people to listen to the live stream instead of having to watch it. But again, you can do that for free. So that's a little thank you to our supporters. Okay, I think we're good. I think we covered it. Perfect. So, of course, I dedicate every episode to a few of our supporters, but first, before I do that, I do have to say welcome to the supporter to the Patreon page, Mr. or Mrs. Chillbringer, Dabest, Bryce W, and Juicy BTW. Thank you so much for the support, guys, and I hope you enjoy being part of the Patreon club. Do people enjoy being part of the Patreon club? I don't really know. You can let me know if you do, though, because that's kind of cool. But this episode is dedicated to Mon Player and, of course, our top tier supporters, Aiden A, Gentinu, Grunkle G, and Spleemo. You guys rock and really do appreciate it. And, of course, we have buymeacoffee.com/dills, where you can buy me a virtual coffee. So thank you, Timbuktu25. It's a lot of coffee coming from Mr. Timbuktu25 or Mrs. Dr. Feelgood, Mistborn, The Six, One Big Peepee, Femin Lit, Mr. Showers, Rowdy Pickle, and Hoyt. Thank you guys for the coffee. Really do appreciate it. All right, so this has been a bit of a long episode. If you made it this far, amazing. So yeah, again, I'll just wrap up quickly by saying thank you to every single person who has supported the show, who continues to support the show, and who may support the show down the road. And if you don't support the show, that's okay. I'm just happy that people listen at all, to be honest. So, yeah. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Now we are back. Guys, we mentioned we have bingo coming up, so make sure you check the description of this episode if you're interested and you're still with us. If you want to hang out with us in-game, Wild CC is where you can do that. Our email is thewilderness.podcast@gmail.com. Yes, I saw we got some emails, but of course, look at the time of this podcast. We're going to save it for next episode. And our Twitter is @thewildernessRS. We also have a Discord. You can join that in the description of this podcast as well.
Could always just turn into a 3 or 4 day episode.
Oh my Jesus!
Wish you could see if people can figure out where we this actually took 2 days to record this one. To see if people can actually figure out where we split on the second day.
Maybe we should do that. If anyone can tell us where we split, there was one of the poll questions. Okay, there was a poll question.
Yeah.
If you can figure out where we split, I'll give you a bond. We'll do that. Okay. Maybe you can notice a shift in our energy levels. What question it is.
They were both after work, right? So, or evening for you, after work for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So energy levels should be about the same, but who knows? Maybe there's a noticeable difference. That's pretty funny.
Well, I didn't get much sleep last night, so I was a little bit more tired on this last half of this podcast.
I'm watching too much Big Brother over there. Oh my
God, dude, it was such a good episode. Anyways, we don't got time for that.
Was it? Is it the finale or?
It wasn't the finale, but man, they had a double eviction, but it was actually a fake out. So they turned off the live feeds over the weekend. They held the live feeds from us, so we didn't get any spoilers until Monday.
Oh my God.
Anyways,
I feel like we'll throw this one up at the beginning. I'll ask you again at the beginning of the Theater of Blood story mode episode.
Oh boy, here we go.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah, little fun fact. I know I mentioned a few times, like I was in that online reality game and I was like, how can we bring this onto RuneScape? And I've been kind of spectating how they do it. As the game went on, it kind of, it became toxic as fuck. And then I was like, I don't know if this would be a good idea to bring into RuneScape.
People
started becoming
DDoSing each other left and right.
Oh, it became very toxic. People were becoming very mean. But anyways, Heartless, do you have a song of the week for us?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with Al Kharid. Just an absolute bomb of a track.
Oh man, that brings me back
from our free-to-play days.
Yeah.
Walking through that gate for the first time.
Oh man, the memories. I love that. And when you get recruited into some coal mining company because you decide to go mine by the scorpions there.
I'd say the song is worth the 10 GP for sure.
Oh, totally. Guys, I stream from time to time. You can check that at twitch.tv/thedills. No actual schedule though. It's kind of whenever I feel like it. But that's about it for us. I guess we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.